You are listening to another AlwaysMoto production. The AlwaysMoto podcast with your host, David Hogan. We talk moto events from around the world. All the injuries, all the training ins and outs, the bikes, parts and gear inspections. The results, we interview your favourite riders. It's the AlwaysMoto podcast. We occasionally have some coarse language and the odd stuff up along the way. If you don't like it or you don't agree with us, turn it off right now.
I'd like to remind you that he is not a doctor.
All right, that's right, Moto fans. This is episode 179 of the AlwaysMoto podcast, proudly presented by TechnicMotorsport.com and Duramoose.com.au. I'm your host, David Hogan, the Australian physiotherapist who knows the injuries and fitness needs of our sport of motocross and supercross. And we are going to go through everything and anything moto here because it's Always Moto on the Always Moto network. This week's show, we're going to cover some SMX 2026, what's been going on so far. Obviously, our Aussie boy, Hunter Lawrence, doing good things over there, getting his first win. We'll chat about that. We're going to cover all that, the injuries and much more. We've got the contractor, Benny Grinly, on the line. He'll be here with us just a second. He's going to talk all that nonsense with us. We're going to do some Stark Varg talk, of course, but this time a little bit different because we're going to get Aussie privateer racer Jyle Campbell on board with us as well to chat a little bit about that because he is riding a Stark Varg in 2026. And we're going to chat we've got a pre-recorded interview that's going to play at the end of the live show. It's with US Supercross star Scott Meshey. You might not have heard of him yet. If you haven't been paying attention to the LCQs, you might not have seen him, but he's the number 411. We've had Scott on the show previously. Good bloke, good interview. And there's plenty to catch up with him about. So we've got plenty to talk about there on the show. Now, what do factory teams like Honda, Kawasaki, Suzuki, Yamaha all have in common? Well, they're using KYB or Showa suspension, and they service them with genuine parts and accessories. Now, KYB and Showa have an Australian distributor, and that's TechnicMotorsport.com. They are in Sydney. So why would you use non-genuine seals, wipers, bushes, and other consumables when the genuine parts are available, perform better, and usually only one day away with shipping here from TechnicMotorsport.com? That website there is the place to go to for all those parts, from seals to fork tubes. They've got A-kit suspension kits for both KYB and Showa. If you use the Find My Bike tool, you'll be able to find all the products that are available for you. There's new products being added all the time. If you're not in Australia, that's okay. Technic has a currency converter, a shipping calculator, and they ship daily with DHL to most countries. So check out TechnicMotorsport.com. Of course, don't forget our other sponsors, Duramoose.com.au. I've got the Duramooses in we had them in the Stark, we've got them back in the Sherco, and we're going to have them in something else we're going to talk about shortly here very, very soon that's coming up that I'm excited to announce as well, and we'll drop that later in the show. But yeah, the Duramooses are going well. If you haven't seen my video about ripping a knob off the tyre and being able to basically touch the tube inside, and I didn't have a flat, I rode that thing, I didn't even know it was a problem until I was changing the tyre. Check that out, but their Duramooses are good quality stuff. Also Pivot Pegs, competitive edge performance, and of course Tech 167 3D printing. They'll print up anything cool for you pretty much. They've got great threaded funnels, lots of little parts and bits and pieces for your workshop and your jobs in terms of maintenance on the bike. So check out Tech 167. Of course, we've got our t-shirts available as well. They are $25 plus postage and handling. This one right here that I'm wearing is what you would be getting there. We had our little man, Henry LeConte, over the weekend send us a photo. If you didn't see our story, he had his shirt that he was rocking at the races on the weekend. Thank you, Henry. So awesome to have those out. They are $25 plus postage and handling. If you want one, info@alwaysmoto.com. T-shirt order in that subject line of the email, and we'll be in touch about payment via PayPal. Now, maybe you don't want a t-shirt, but maybe you just want to support the show. PayPal, our links in our bio to our PayPal account. You can just do a donation there, which we would greatly appreciate it. Now, of course, all those links, some discounts. There's discount code for Duramoose. They're all available via the links in our bio on our social pages or in the notes below the YouTube live stream. You can check those out all there. All right, let's get the contractor into the show. Here he is. G'day, Benny. How are we doing this week, mate?
I'm all right. What's going on, Dave?
Oh, not much. I see you added the hat partway through there, and I can see the tags hanging out the side, mate. So just make a readjust,
Yeah,
right?
all right.
Come on, get yourself in order. We've got to get this right. Here we go. But yes, yeah, it's nice to have you back on the show. But yeah, get the hat straight. There we go. Now we're looking much
right.
sharper. Nice work. All right. How's the week been? I see you're ready for another show, mate.
Yep, we missed out last week. We had a little break, so it's good to get back into it this week.
Yeah, look, most of these times when we have a break, it's my fault because I'm purely either busting my freckle with too many things at once, or I'm tired from busting my freckle, or I just purely couldn't give a rat's at that point. Last week was the latter. But we have some good stuff to talk about this week, obviously, in terms of the racing, some good guests. And like I said, there's one thing that I've got to remember to bring in later on, which hopefully I will. I think I've got it noted down. I can't remember my double check of my notes. But anyway, we'll get there in time. But the big news from the weekend, and I'm going to skip straight over all the controversy, and we'll come to that in a minute. But the big news for me, Hunter Lawrence, first dub in Supercross, in an actual Supercross, not an SMX, not a pro motocross, an actual Supercross race on the 450. The man got it done in maybe what's the best possible way to get your first win by passing some legends and basically then gapping them and leaving them. And even with the controversy, having that gap closed down and then gapping them again. It was a solid night from Hunter Lawrence.
Yeah, it's good to see. We talked about it 2 weeks ago. You know, the next few rounds, you know, he needed to sort of get a win. And, yeah, to come out and do it like that, like you said, not a Triple Crown, not anything like that, just straight up beat those guys that, you know, have pretty much been the front three runners for, you know, how many years now. Yeah, pretty amazing and should be, you know, he should feel really good about it.
Yeah, look, obviously there's been a lot of talk about his lack of excitement, let's say, when he was doing the podium interview. But you could see over the jump on the finish line and that next little roll that he went off, the relief as he, you know, punched the air. You could see the weight come off the man's shoulders. And, like, I hope that frees him up for the following rounds. And like you said, we talked about this 2 weeks ago, and I brought up about those couple of rounds that were coming up in terms of Seattle, Arlington, Daytona, Indiana, all being similar sort of softer dirt types that would get really rutted. Obviously, Daytona's a little different being the speedway, but he got it done in the second of the four that I was talking about. It also ended up, funnily, they talked about it heaps as well, lining up with the fact that no champion has ever got their first win after round 7 in a season. So that was a nice little tie-in for Hunter. But, Benny, my next thing that I'm going to bring up about Hunter and that win, I was saying that he's building something quietly. Well, he's not doing it so quietly anymore. He's had the red plate for a couple of weeks. He's got a win. If things can go, and I don't want to jinx anything here, but imagine this for a second. Full what if. What if he wins Daytona this week and outdoes Eli Tomac in that situation? Would he not just grow another 3 inches in confidence because he outdid the so-called king of Daytona in his playground when he's looking confident and good on that KTM? I feel like if Hunter can do that, whoa, sky's the limit.
Yeah, I think you're right. And it's, you know, you've got that motivation now that, you know, to get that first win, he's got that. To beat Eli there would be, you know, we know what his record's like. And Eli's probably walking in pretty confident into that, you know, thinking that, you know, I've got this. But now that he's beaten them, and if he beats them, like, you know, beats them there, I think he's just, that confidence is going to grow. But then on the flip side, how is their confidence going to go? If, you know, if Hunter does beat them, what are they going to start to think? They're going to be like, oh, we're in trouble now because he's got this thing sorted out. He knows what a win's like and what he has to do. So yeah, both ways could be interesting. Yeah,
it's a twofold situation for me. Like, one, it's the confidence for Hunter, but it's also that psychological edge and the pulling confidence away from the rest of the field, because, like you said, you beat him there. He'll have then done 2 wins in a row, so it's not like he's got one and he never gets one again. He'll have backed it up quickly. and like I said about it's Daytona, if he does it at Daytona, Webb's been talking about trying to get a Daytona win for years now, and he brought it up again on the podium in Arlington, so it's on his mind. Eli thinks he's just an automatic win when he goes to Daytona these days, if he's fit and healthy, which he is. So if Hunter can outdo both of them in that scenario, and as much as Ken won last year, I feel like Ken is just hit that point of his season, and I hate to say it because I love Ken Roxon as just a fan of the sport, but he's hit that point where I feel like he's just dropped off the toe in the championship at this point. He could still have some decent one-off rides here and there, but the toe for the championship, I feel like the hook's just unhooked, and he's dangling at the minute. He's dangling off the back now. So, but if he beats him as the last year's winner, there's just a shift towards Hunter for me that just can't be it's undeniable if he does this. He might, even if he gets second, I think he's getting towards that as well too. But then he would have to win like Indy or something the following week to really push it over the top.
Yeah, and I mean the consistency is there. So another, at least another podium. I think, even though it'd be good to see him get the win, but even just another podium at Daytona, I think will still keep that confidence there. But I think he can do pretty well at Daytona with, how they do outdoors, how he does at SMX. I think that track is, probably going to suit him like one of his best tracks this year, I think.
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling something here for Hunter. Like the way he's gone about this season so far, the way that his emotions were in check on the podium there for that win. I just feel if he does this weekend, watch out. There's more coming here, right? So keep an eye on this one because it could be a good story here, when we get back next week sort of thing. So keep that one posted. Now, 250 side of things. I don't know which way to go with this because obviously this week there's plenty of controversy, not just with the 250, but obviously it's in the 450. It all involves Honda. But there is still a nice story here for Pierce Brown. The man probably should have won the opening round of East Coast last year, except for that major fall that then caused a major injury and set him out pretty much for the entire 2025 season. The comeback story is a feel-good one that he got that win that he was deserved, he probably owed from last year. So that's awesome. But then you look at Shimoda and think, well, I think he was owed it too in that scenario. So happy for Pierce, disappointed for Joe. We'll get to the controversy soon. But what do you think of Pierce Brown's performance there, Benny?
Yeah, it's definitely, like you said, a good comeback story. I can only imagine, you can do so many laps at the test track and feel confident and whatever there, but then to actually line up on the gate under the lights ready for the main event, surely there had to be some, nerves and maybe some thoughts creeping in about, what happened last time he went out. But he, went out and absolutely nailed the race. Like you said, probably should have maybe had second, maybe not. But yeah, to see him riding and win and I guess achieve that goal of coming back and being like that, I think it's, like you said, it's just a good story.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And on that too, like the same thing, the comeback for Shimoda, at that round, like obviously he's right on the limit of that 12-week recovery point for his neck fracture that he sustained pre-season here that made him shift from probably what would have been a West Coast showdown with Deegan to an East Coast run here. And obviously, like you said, 2 weeks on a bike. Now, 2 weeks on a bike isn't a massive amount of time because it's probably only 4 or 5 days by the time you work it out in the week in terms of being on Supercross. To put in the effort that he did, and I think he went about it really smartly throughout his day by not overexerting himself in the qualifying sessions and saving himself for that later part of the show. And then pulling hole shots like nobody's business as well to make it easier on himself. Pretty impressive performance from Shimoda, given the fitness point that he's at in his recovery. I feel like there's more there for him, but I wonder where that will fit when we talk about the next guy coming up here. But for Shimoda, very impressive night.
Yeah, I definitely didn't expect that. He wasn't, maybe third or fourth is what I had him picked at, but definitely not that sort of performance. He'll be pretty disappointed with how things have played out. But for him to, like you said, just come back, whole shot, ride like he did, same thing. He's got to be happy to have achieved that, and next week, the weeks after, he'll get better on the bike, and towards the end of the championship, I'd say he'll be right in there.
Yeah, and I feel like he's going to be a close combatant for this championship. But the man that I think, if he can figure out how not to lock handlebars and run up the inside of people on the start and put himself on the ground, holy smoke, the whoop speed for Cole Davies in a set of destroyed whoops that made everybody else look like amateurs out there. Cole Davies is a man with some serious skills in the whoops, and what he had last year was good. What he showed on the weekend just gone, he definitely hasn't lost it. If anything, he's probably gained more. The speed out of that man is scary, the potential that he could have here in the next few weeks. If he can get, those whoops dialed like that every week, holy smoke, is he going to be good.
Yeah, and we saw how fast he was last year, like you said. But I think that was, that bit of footage that we saw during the race that was, double that speed. So everyone's going to have to pick their game up if they want to even, come close to him in the whoops. But then even if you get out to a lead, and he's not far behind, it's not going to take that long for him to catch up going like that.
No, and he was blowing by guys, from last to fifth was pretty impressive, and I reckon he was probably only a lap or two maybe from getting himself to potentially on the podium there, because he was just off the back of that group by a couple of seconds for the top three there. So, yeah, not far away from making it all the way back, which would have been super impressive if he had pulled that off. But, yeah, look, I think the other part of this too, it was pretty funny, the comments from Chad Reed after the race as well about the whoop speed and about how the whoops is an integral part of Supercross and the skill that you need to have to be a good Supercross rider. Obviously, that man can ride Supercross whoops and nobody can argue with him. And I have to agree with him that I think that this is a skill that if you can blitz whoops that are that destroyed, there's not much going to stop you from winning a race, really. And you got to think too, for a lot of these guys, they don't blitz at that point because there's a fear factor, right? How fearless is Cole Davies? Jesus.
Yeah, well, if it could end up very bad at that speed, if you drop it in and miss one and end up falling off at that speed, it's going to hurt. But it's just, one of those things is, Reed's always said that the whoops are, like you said, you need the skill and they're the integral part of it. But, yeah, so many of them just decide to jump within the second lap, third lap. It just, shows the difference of skill.
Yeah, no, definitely. Now let's get to that stuff that everybody's been talking about, the controversy here for the week, and obviously the red light, red flag or red cross flag situation. I feel like Honda is very dirty on the AMA at the moment. Obviously, both these scenarios have impacted what points lead Hunter Lawrence could have by not having, second, third, fourth docked for that in terms of losing some championship points. And then obviously losing the potential win for Joe Shimoda because he did what he did because the lights were going. So Honda's got a fair case here. And obviously their press release that they've put out, they're standing behind their position as well. Haven't really seen that from anyone before, Benny. It's an interesting take that they're really basically, I gather they're fed up with the way the rules have been implemented in recent times towards their team specifically.
Yeah, and I think they've got every right to. I sent the photo in our group chat of 2024 St. Louis Triple Crown. Jet, the flag was out exactly the same as the picture of, everyone should have seen it, of Tomac jumping, the exact same thing, and Jet was docked for that. And then we're just not going to, not dock Eli or, Kenny or Webb, like you said, would go from 4 points to 9 points, I think, for Hunter in the championship.
Yeah.
Leading by that much with the difference if they get docked. And then, for Joe as well to miss out on a win that way, it just hasn't been good to Honda at all. And I think they've got every right to be pretty pissed off.
Yeah, I just can't. I can't believe the Joe one. There's some weird bits that have been reading throughout the rule book and how these things have been communicated to the riders about these being lead lights, as in it's a pre-warning to a flag. That's confusing as crap. And I think Jason Thomas said it best on one of the review pods that he's on about. There's too many layers to this to expect a rider to be able to understand it when they're in the heat of battle, it's got to be simpler. So JT's comments there is all needs to be said in my mind. But the Hunter one, like the Hunter rolling and then the guys not doing the Red Cross one, like they basically almost hit that Red Cross flag. They were that close to it. And those rules have to be implemented. I don't know how AMA can go, here's the footage, they jumped on the Red Cross. Whether the Red Cross was there in error or not, there was a Red Cross flag out. The guys don't know that it was in error, if it was put there in error. The rule says you can't jump on a Red Cross. And they've implemented that plenty of times in the past. So what has made this different? It's an absolute schmozzle at this point. So...
yeah, and it's when you've got riders taking to social media and saying what the hell is going on, it's not a good look for AMA, Feld. It's not a good look for anyone.
Well, the amount that have come out and talked about it too, like it's not just one or two. It feels like it's the whole field, and like the last 10 years of guys have been making comments about it on socials as such. So it's definitely sparked some interest.
Yeah, and I mean they've obviously had the same meetings that for the people not racing, like I think Mitchell Oldenburg came out and said something. He would have had the same, even though he's injured, he would have had the same meeting at the start of the year. All these riders have had similar meetings where all the rules would be the same, and it's just throwing the rule book over the shoulder and see you later. Yeah,
look, whatever they do, there's gonna be some fair discussion. You would think they'd need to jump in front of this on Race Day Live this weekend and make some explanation to prove why, and either that or then show that there's an error in the rule book or in the process and that they're changing it immediately. Because I don't know how they walk away from this and get a good vibe from the rest of the field. So, and then not have issues the next time this happens, right? The next time a Red Cross flag is out and somebody jumps on it, they can't penalise them in my book. Like they have precedent now that they haven't been penalised. So they've made a balls up, in my opinion. So let's see what happens, because there's going to be a lot of talk about this moving forward, right?
Yeah, well, you can imagine what it'd be like if, it was round the other way and Pierce got second and Joe got first. You can imagine what Yamaha or Star would be like if it was the other way around. It'd be the exact same thing. They're probably sitting there, rubbing their hands together because they've got away with this one. But yeah, if a shoe was on the other foot, it would be the exact same story, if probably worse.
Yeah, no, look, it's yeah. I think in that scenario, any team that loses out on that one would be pretty well, and this is my description, pissed about the situation, right? And rightfully so. Obviously, I'm kind of impressed with the way that Honda and Lars and a couple of other guys that have come out with statements from Honda, the racing program there. It's been a very measured, controlled, aggression to the situation without, saying anything dumb, calling anyone an idiot. It's been very measured. So I'm glad. The professionalism of Honda is showing through there, right? It could have been handled very poorly. They've done a really good job. So anyway, let's say it's all well and good, and let's move on from that one, because I'm kind of overhearing about it being talked about. But I think for the next week to week and a half, that's all we're going to be hearing. So we'll see how that goes. But this is the situation we've managed to land ourselves in. So anyway, anything else from the weekend grab your attention, mate? Obviously, the East Coast opener. Anyone stand out for you in terms of different performances or lack of performance that we might have not covered so far?
Yeah, I was a bit disappointed with Seth Hammaker. I thought he would be a bit better, especially after the run he went on last year. I had him top 3, but just wasn't there. I know a lot of people went down in that first turn too, so it sort of changed the race a little bit. But probably expected a little bit more from him. Yeah. Kind of agree, but obviously the fact that he's coming back off the shoulder repair during the off season, maybe like a 4th in the end is an okay result.
he did get lucky in that first turn. Maybe that spooked him enough just to ride in a solid result. But yeah, there's probably more in Seth, and maybe we see that next week. Obviously, Daxton Bennick as well popped up for me. But the one that I sort of thought you might have popped up, the Aussie man that joined Team PRMX, Luke Clout. Not sure what to make of that weekend. Qualifying was Luke Clout-ish, but the racing was not.
Yeah, I think that was next on my list. He got caught up in that first turn pile up, which is not ideal. Got back up a little bit, and then I think he got as high as 15th, I think I saw, and then ended up back in 17th, and that, I guess, is sort of where he stayed. But like they said, he said he's only been on the bike for a week or 2 weeks, whatever it's been, not a lot of time. So maybe this, give him a bit more time, he should be all right. But yeah, I think the switching 250 to 450, again, we've talked about it. It's not ideal. He did do some, World Supercross races or whatever, or the Paris or German Supercross on the 250. But yeah, I think he's just better suited to the 450.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that one. I think he's at that point where he shouldn't be going back and forth. He's a 450 guy now, and it's hard to take that step back to be that aggressive rider that you need to be for a 250. But the other part that I think was a bit interesting with Luke for me watching it was, and it came back to one of the videos and one of the interviews that I did with him during Redcliffe in our Supercross season and the last year, about whoop speed and comfort in the whoops, and how when he even himself, if you go back and check our interviews, I think it was night one, so round one interview that we did post-race with him. And it's on our socials as well. There's a video about him and Dino's, the speed difference. But Luke said about that, like, it's fine for the Aussie guys when the whoops are big and round, but as soon as they get cupped or rutted, that's where they start to struggle in. And obviously what we saw in Arlington was probably the second half of that being all just destroyed, rutted everywhere. And there was, I can't remember when it was, but he was on screen at some point, whether it was the heat or the main, and you saw the speed that he was going through them. It wasn't like what you would expect him to be if that was an Australian Supercross track, right? So comfort in the bike might have been one thing, comfort on the track might have been another, confidence in that scenario that he said he potentially lacks from our previous interview. Didn't all add up too well, but obviously he's going to have to learn how to ride that sort of track scenario, because he's got Daytona, he's got Indy coming up. Potentially both of those are going to be worse than what Arlington was. So he's going to learn how to do this, hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think it was in one of the heat races. He was basically just rolling it with that, right on the bubble of the transfer spot as well. Luckily, he kept that, but that was not a good look.
No, like I said, it might come down to all those other parts too in this puzzle, being comfort and confidence and bike time and all that sort of stuff. So hopefully we'll see something better. But yeah, I just thought it matched up to the comments from previously that we got from him direct. So yeah, interesting time there. All right, it's come to our time, Benny, and perfect timing. I was about to try and add another topic in here, but Jyle looks like he's going to join us here. So I'm going to jump him in here. Interesting. We'll see how we go. He must be on a partner's computer, hopefully. Otherwise, we're going to get some random here called Emma joining in shortly. We'll see. All right, let's we'll get the two screens going up. There he is. I was just saying we're going to either admit somebody that we know or we're going to admit some random Emma. So, but it's here. He's here. Jyle Campbell. How you doing, mate?
Hey, good, guys. Thanks for having me on.
No worries, mate. So for those that don't know, this is a privateer. Now, Jyle, I think I'm going to have to get you to put this sideways on this computer screen or push it away from your face a little bit, because we're super duper zoomed in at the minute on you.
Is that better?
Yeah, not really. But anyway, let's see what we've got going on here. Yeah, there we go. That'll work. Just sit back a bit. So Jylie's a privateer in Australian Supercross. Number 52 is the number that you've probably known him for from the Australian Supercross series just gone. But the man's decided to defect from the gasoline power to the electric power, as I have been doing recently as well. So I thought it was a good chance to bring him on and find out what he's up to with this Stark Varg situation, and the recent Barcelona trip too. So, Jyle, welcome in, mate. How's the jet lag?
Yeah, jet lag's not too bad. It was definitely better coming home than going there. But no, I'm really liking these Starks. I got talking to them during Supercross last year. They were looking for a local dealer was looking for someone to jump on one and showcase what they can do. And I was all over that opportunity to, mix it up and, bring something so unique and see what we can do on it this year.
Yeah, it's obviously a very different situation compared to what you've been on. But so you didn't seek this out at all then?
I sort of knew that there was a spot with that dealer, and I definitely did reach out and said, if you are looking for someone. And then he was sort of like, yeah, okay, cool. And then it was like a month later, he reached out to me and said, yeah, if you're still keen, we're going to look for someone. So, yeah.
Yeah, now, Benny and I were talking before about what this is actually going to look like. And, Benny, you were saying, what series and stuff is this all going to be a part of, right?
Yeah, I was interested to see whether, it was going to be like Pro MX, AusX, because we haven't really heard too much about it yet. But I think it'll be interesting, to see Stark join into those two series.
Yeah. Yeah, so at the moment we can race them in Pro MX. There was a few that raced last year. We can race all the state titles, local races. They're still working on trying to get them homologated for the AusX series. And I know the team's working hard to speak to Adam Bailey and the crew at AME to get that sorted. So hopefully we can get that locked up before the season, because I think they've got a big spot in Supercross. I think that's where they're going to strive. Obviously, motocross, the batteries, they're still innovating the technology and all that sort of thing. So they're getting better, every week, every month, whatever you want to say. But Supercross is definitely where they're going to strive because of the shorter races and things like that.
Yeah, that's obviously the main talking point when we talk e-bikes these days is the battery range. And I've actually got a video that'll be out in probably 2 weeks on what I was able to do. So I've got the Varg EX, which is the enduro model. But I believe it's basically the same battery, 7.2 kilowatt, that you got now in what would be the 1.2 Varg motocross version. And I can get a decent amount out of it, but on a very different track scenario at a very different level to yourself, obviously. How have you been going with that from a 30-minute potential moto time? Obviously our Australian series doesn't do the same format moto-wise as a 30+2 that AMA that some of our viewers would be familiar with. We've got a bit of a different scenario breakdown at some of the events. How's your battery life going? Are you going to make all these without a change or anything along the way?
So obviously the battery life is a big talking point. At the moment, I've just been riding hard pack tracks, and it looks like we're going to, we'll be able to make a 25+1 on a hard pack track. For a loamy track or a deeper track, it's going to be very touch and go. And at the moment, they're in the boat. If we can't make a moto, they don't want us on the line. Obviously, it doesn't look good for them.
No, yeah, I was wondering that.
So we're going to focus on hitting more of the hard pack rounds, so Appin, Canberra, and probably Conadale and Woomba will be the riders are focusing on. I'm going to do Appin and Canberra definitely, and then they've got some riders in Queensland and South Australia, I believe, that will maybe fly up and do some of the other rounds later in the series, which I also might attend. We'll just see. But yeah, definitely hard pack tracks, they're good. They're going to make the moto. The sand tracks that we're still testing and developing on at the moment.
Yeah, nice. And so that then would free you up to do some of these state titles and stuff, I gather, with the bike, and because they're obviously much shorter. I think last year for the New South Wales titles are only 20-minute motos, if I'm remembering correctly. So that's another easier point for you guys to cover off on, and for those races too. There's no sand tracks involved on the East Coast, so it's a pretty good scenario that size. Are you then what, and this is the next question that goes along with these bikes, and Benny knows because I've been talking horsepower here on the show with the Varg EX, but are you running some sort of crazy horsepower, or are you keeping it down to try and manage the battery life out of these things as well? What's your setup going on here for the so far, at least?
So far, I've literally just been running 48 horsepower. So that's what we can run in the 250 class.
Yep.
And for motocross, with obviously the battery life again, 48 horsepower is going to be what I'm going to be running for the nationals. So I just thought I'll train on that for now. Once they start getting the batteries to a point where we can look at running the 60 horsepower, then I'll look at bumping it up a little bit more. But for now, I've been training flat out on 48 horsepower. State titles, I'm going to race both classes. So whether I maybe bump it up to 52, 54 for the shorter, like obviously they're a bit shorter, so I can bump it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, the amount of torque they've got and things like that. And obviously, we don't have a lot of high-speed tracks down here in New South Wales. 48 horsepower should be enough to be competitive with the 450s anyway.
Yeah, fair enough. Interesting. Have you checked into the stats on the Arkenstone phone on the dash after a motor to see how close you've gotten and how frequently you've gotten to that cap of 48 horsepower? Because I was super curious about that when I was riding it, and then I was sort of disappointed in myself that I only got there a couple of times across a ride. Like it wasn't as, you're not using it the high horsepower as often as you think you are.
Yeah, I haven't looked a lot into the stats, but I know, like, just briefly looking over it, I ride Campbell a fair bit. It's probably been my local track this off season, and I've definitely hit it a fair bit for a moto. So, like, obviously it's got some elevation, hills and whatnot, so you definitely do use that power up hills. So yeah, no, I've been using it all.
Yeah, nice. Benny, what's your thoughts on the Stark being on the line for like the state titles and stuff this year?
Yeah, I think it's good. I'm interested. So obviously you've been practicing on tracks and have other riders around you and whatnot, and we've sort of heard that Starks can sort of come up behind people and scare them, and they're not ready for them. Have you had that where you have come up behind someone and it's sort of freaked them out or caught them off guard, and then they've nearly either run into you or they've crashed themselves because of that?
Yeah, I've definitely had a few close encounters this off season with nearly getting taken out just because people aren't near you there, and people probably hate me, but I've been honestly, like, after the first weekend I just started yelling at people because they just can't, they have no idea. Yeah, and obviously without sounding like an idiot, like, I'm going pretty quick, so I come up on people quicker than they expect. So they, even if you get a 180 corner, they look and see you that you're there, but we catch them like so quickly that they just don't expect that you're going to be there, and next minute you jump beside them and they look next and they're like, oh Jesus, I didn't know you were there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've definitely probably scared a few people, and I've had some close calls with run-ins, but we're going to look at possibly, I spoke to them when I was in Barcelona about getting a horn or even running the EX mapping switch, just so I've got the horn option there. So that's definitely something we're looking at.
That thing's quite loud too, actually. I've scared the crap out of my kids with it. So the horn on that EX is very loud.
Yeah, we actually, the bikes we had in Spain had the EX switch on them.
Yep.
But at the same time, sometimes when you got a 250 on the limiter, they're not going to hear it. So you just got to time when you hit the horn.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I don't know if you've ever done like an off-road or an enduro sort of round, but there's plenty of times where, in a cross country when you got like the pros out there and, you get a lap down sort of thing and a pro come up behind you, they would leave those horns on the, WRs and the KDMs and such, and you'd hear it like 5 times. They're just literally bouncing off it as they're coming into the corner behind you. So you hear it no matter what you're doing at some point. There's one of those that'll break through because it's an unusual sound that you're not expecting at that point. So yeah, but from a safety point of view for you on a practice day, I reckon it's probably highly a good idea. So
yeah, definitely. Well, I'm hoping that the races are just whole shot and don't have to pass anyone, but yeah, practice days, that's definitely a concern.
Look, I'm going to sound like a genius on the weekend then. So I gather you're at ACT for the state titles this weekend?
Yeah, I'll be there.
All right, I'm going to sound like a genius because I'm going to call you for hole shots before the races even start. And when you pull out, because I know the Stark is capable at this point, right? Like there's lightning fast. Yeah, I'm going to hopefully look like a genius on the commentary call for the YouTube stream. So hopefully, fingers crossed, you get a good start. Otherwise, I'm going to sound like an idiot.
Yeah, I'll try not to let you down. I can't promise anything, but that's what we're aiming for.
That's what we want. We want to look good, right, Benny?
That's all right. I'm going to hold you to that. We'll see.
So now, look, I want to talk to you about the Barcelona trip because one, I've done it in terms of we did the media day when they first released the bike back in 2022. I think if I'm getting my dates right, and you know. Had a good time. The guys that are part of the crew over there, obviously we had a lot of them there because it was the release from a media point of view, so we met a lot of them. I don't know if you got to meet every one of them that's involved or if it's a bit of a smaller crew, but the tracks over there are pretty cool. I felt like they were similar to ours in terms of the you know, a bit more of a hard packy clay sort of things at times, whether they ripped them up for you or not, I don't know. But it was still an experience, and to be able to be a part of it and see where it all comes from and just understand more about the brand was really cool. Did you get to do that sort of stuff too? Like, did you get a factory tour? Did you meet Anton or Ben from the marketing side of things, or even Paul, the head engineer guy? Any of those guys pop into this for you, or what was your experience like?
Yeah. So we went over for a week alongside. So it was organised through Pete Goddard at AlwaysMoto, and I went with my teammate Jack Carter, who's predominantly flat track and dirt track. So me and him went over. We got to spend a week there. We got a factory tour on the first day, and we got to meet Ben. We hung out with Lucas, the race team manager.
Yep.
And then Tortelli was meant to be there, but you know, big company things come up, and he wasn't able to attend. But yeah, we got a factory tour. It was such a cool, like, so big, and the production line and everything is crazy over there.
Yeah.
So that was really cool to see. And then we got to do a day testing. So we got the race team mechanics, and Lucas came out to track again. And that was at Golf MX.
Yep.
So it used to be a golf course. The dirt is just unbelievably good. And we went there on a public day. It was just open to the public, and the track got crazy rough. Like, I don't think I've seen a track really get that rough. Like, it was up there with being rougher than a national spec track over here. But yeah, as you said, the tracks are pretty similar. I thought they flowed a little bit more than over here. Like, we get a lot of stop-starty sort of track. They definitely did flow a bit more, but so sick. Like, over the hill, like it was on the side of a hill.
Yeah.
Heaps of elevation. I don't know if you rode Golf MX, but
yep,
it was sick.
Yeah, Golf MX was the one that I got to do it on, and yeah, it was a really cool track. And you're right about the flow side of things. Like, they're just, I don't know whether they've swept the corners differently in terms of like the radius that they've got in them, but yeah, you don't seem to have that like pinch point in a corner where you go to flick and come back out of. So yeah, the flow, and that obviously suits better for the Vargs anyway, because you can radius the corner nicely and use the power and the, I don't know where you're at with engine, the regen side of things, the engine brake feel, but yeah, the MX Golf was a pretty cool venue. It was the one that over the back there was like a single that went down to a bottom corner before you're on the lower section, and one of the other guys decided to send a brand new Varg off a single that he thought was a tabletop and ended up down in the trees. So yeah, just obviously you didn't do that, good. But that's my memory of that place, is remembering that single, all because it was talked about the whole time we're there. But yeah, no, that's you got the basically the Stark experience from what you said there, because that was the experience that I remember too, about meeting all these guys and seeing the brand that was developing. Obviously, I got it in very early days, but it was a pretty cool thing. And like, I don't know what it is about that team, but they are all super passionate about what they're doing, and they're just focused on making something that's freaking unbelievable, basically. Like, they're not just trying to make a bike. Benny, you would know, like other bikes, they just make a bike because it fits in, right? Like, it's good, but it's not great, and they want you to upgrade it later on, and you would have done that on your bikes in the past. But the Stark is like, no, we're going to build the best possible thing we can, and you're just going to everyone's going to be able to buy it straight off without buying GYTR parts or, you know, KTM power parts or whatever. We're just going to have a Stark that has it already on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, the team was so accommodating over there. And it's cool because they're really invested in getting the results, but at the same time, they're also targeting that common weekend rider too at the same time. And they're accomplishing that really good. Like, their bonus program is really good. We get incentivized to do state titles. And if we get results, you know, we get rewarded for that through Stark. And that's not through the deal, that's through Stark themselves. So
oh, wicked. Yep.
that is, you know, really good. And it should incentivize people to get on a Varg. Like, the maintenance side is really, really good compared to a normal bike.
Non-existent, right?
Yeah, literally, like, you just wash it, charge it, and it's good to go. So yeah, in that sense, they're just a no-brainer at this point.
So am I going to be able to pick you out easily from your pit point of view this weekend because I'll hear the Jenny running, or what's going to be going on through the day for you for recharge situations?
Yeah, I feel sorry for anyone pitted next to me this year because they're going to hate me by the end of the day.
Have you got something like particular that you had to get for them being on the team side of things, or is it just literally you got like the Honda Jenny that you've always had and that's what you're using for these sort of scenarios now too?
Yeah, literally, I'm just running the Honda Jenny. Well, I'm sort of lucky we're a bricklayer by trade, so we've actually got a big generator to run our brick saw and stuff when we don't have power.
Yep.
So luckily I've got that in the shed that I can put in the trailer now, and that's been running the Vargs, which is good. It charges both of them at the same time, which is handy because state tires racing 2 classes, I'm going to need to give them both.
Yeah, it's going to be that's going to be a full-time job trying to keep them plugged in and whatnot and off. I hope you've got a hand person coming, like a pit person to come and sort you out there as well.
Yeah, I got mum and dad coming down, so they'll be on the charging duties for sure.
Yeah, nice. So what about the bike setup? I noticed in one of your pictures, and Ben's probably had enough of me saying about how good the rear brake on the hand is. You don't have that on the picture that I saw, mate.
Nah, I'm just running the foot brake at the moment. I did, when I was in Spain, try the handbrake, but at this point, like I could do it. I could pay myself to use it. But at this point, it's just, you know, we're so close to the season starting, and I'd have to probably take a good 2 weeks to really get the same feeling in my finger that I do in my foot. So at this point, I'm not going to switch to it, but it's something that I'll probably look at for Supercross because I feel all of their Supercross riders in World Supercross were all running the handbrake. So obviously there is an advantage there because they're all running it. So that's something I'll look into later in the year.
It's an interesting thing. I've said this plenty of times. It's the feel that you get from it just means that you can control how much you're putting on. So like where you would potentially lock the rear because your foot's just a bit dead feeling in terms of that pickup of the foot pedal. You don't have that hardly at all, but you can still obviously lock it because you can, you know, clamp it down, but you're just able to modulate it so much better. But there is the point too, and I had it, where you do something and everything was fine for me in terms of knowing where the rear brake was. But the one moment that I had that was real crazy was when I was trying to do a start just as a practice thing to see what it was like. And I almost went to loop out because it just had so much freaking torque and I wasn't prepared for it at that point. And in that split second, I actually had to think, where is the rear brake? Not just put it on. And in that split second, I'm like, if I had missed and went for the wrong thing, I was gone, right? And I've never done that before, but I was almost there. But that one split second point was like, all right, it's not fully embedded yet that it's under the finger.
Yeah. When I rode it, like your brain knows that you've got to use it with your finger, but your foot still reaches for the pedal. It's just that, like, obviously so many years of riding with the foot brake, you just get into a habit of it.
Yeah, you get out of that pretty quickly, but just that emergency scenario that I just explained is where you still notice it a bit. So yeah, anyway, it's something you when you figure it out over a longer period, you'll love it. And if you do get to that point where, you know, bike's homologated for Supercross, yeah, I'd suggest that brake that you've got, you get into it because it will be better in the long run. But yeah, it's something you got to make sure that you're in that emergency situation over a triple or something, and you're pointing up. You want to make sure you go like this. So definitely,
Yeah, 100%.
yeah. Benny, you got any other questions for him before we let Jyle go tonight?
Yeah, just one. How long did it? So obviously, you've been riding petrol, all that. How long, and like normal bikes, how long did it take to adapt over to the Stark from your previous bike?
So I actually had a mate with one that I rode on and off last year a little bit.
He was getting prepared, Benny. He knew what he was trying to get into.
Yeah. I was just riding it for a bit of fun, and when I rode that, I adapted to it pretty quick, and I was like, oh, this will be an easy change. When the opportunity came up, I thought, this shouldn't take too long. But once I got on it, and then you start playing with maps and everything, it definitely did take more than what I thought. And when you try and ride it as fast as what I don't know I'm capable of riding, but it's just like learning. The biggest thing for me was not having a clutch. That was the biggest thing to get used to, like learning to ride it a little bit differently, to not rely on the clutch in certain scenarios.
Yeah,
that was definitely the biggest thing that I had to adjust to. But I think we're getting pretty close to say I'm not at 100% on it yet. I still think there's more room to grow, and race days, I'm sure there's going to be more learning to come with it. But for the most part, I'm pretty confident to go racing this weekend.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So I got one more for you because it's just popped up. I sort of mentioned it before, but the regen side of things, you being off a 4-stroke, I found from a 2-stroke side of things, I just went for none, right? And I love it because I roll into the corners and just can carry momentum. What have you done? What's your go-to for the regen side of things, that engine brake feel?
Pretty much running none.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. I'll ask you what what number are you running on the regen? 0.
Oh, really? Yeah. So I obviously the standard map came in on the EX one, and it had sort of it was sort of between 40 and 55-ish, that at different points across the kilowatt that it kicked in at different amounts. And I started there and I'm like, oh no, I hate 4-strokes and engine braking. I just don't like that feeling of the bike going underneath me, because when I shut the throttle off, I want to still roll into a corner. So, and as soon as I was like, all right, I'm just going to put it to 20, and I'm like, this is pretty good. But I'm like, you know what? Just turn it off. And I turned it all off everywhere. And I was like instantly like so much better. I'm just like, my corners were so smooth compared to what they were, because again, with no clutch and a finger brake to control myself, I could actually just brake for the corner like you feel like you should, almost like a road racer, where you just would brake for the corner and then apply the throttle again and like roll the mid part of it. And it just changed my style so much for the better. So yeah, 0 across the board is my recommendation. Don't be scared of it. Go for it.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, no, so that, obviously, by you saying that, you've obviously got the pro version where you can adjust the graphs. Yeah, so I've actually got mine set. It starts at 10 and then ramps up to 30 at the end of it.
Yeah, so that was one thing that my wife, because she rides a 350 4-stroke, and she's done that on her own version of a map that we set in there as a custom one. She did that sort of like progression towards the end to try and help slow her down when she's going too quick into a corner, sort of thing, from a higher pace. So yeah, interesting. Everyone's going to obviously be able, the customization that you can do in that mapping with that advanced option there from the subscription that they have for the regular people. I don't know if you've had to pay that separately or it's just part of your team deal there, but that advanced option and the customization there, you can do just about anything you want with it. So you can make it feel how you want it to, which is cool.
Yeah, it's good. Like, I'm still playing with the power side of it for different tracks. Obviously, it's easy when the track's grippy, you can just ramp it right up and give it hell. But when it's and I still haven't had enough experience on the wet tracks and super dry hard pack stuff, that I'm still going to have to play with that on race day as the track deteriorates. That's one thing we're going to learn. But yeah, the pro feature definitely gives you so much adjustability. Like, you can make it feel exactly how you want it. And I literally, I got a little coaching business on the side of what I do. And I jump on like 85s and stuff to do demos. And now when I jump on them, it feels like those have got so much engine braking because of how little I'm running on the Stark. Like, it's crazy. So if I do get back on a combustion bike, it's going to be probably getting used to that engine braking again.
Well, for me, so I'm about to give back. We've had a media bike for a couple of months now from Stark, and I'm about to give it back this week. And I actually picked up, and this is one thing I'm going to announce later, but I've actually picked up a 4-stroke as the next media bike. And again, not being a 4-stroke guy for a long time, for a long period, I've ridden them a day here or there. But going from the Stark to this 4-stroke, I almost fell over the front of it when I shut the throttle off into the first corner. Like, I just was not expecting the feeling that I got. And I was like, oh yeah, that's the thing. So
yeah, it's going to be, hope I don't have to get used to it again. Hopefully Stark just keep hit me on, and then I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, hopefully it's just you're a lifer now, right? You've come in on the ground floor, you can work your way to the top, all right? That's what you want, Benny. He wants a factory Stark future ride for the rest of his eternity.
Yeah, that's fair to understand too.
Yeah. Hey, look, it wouldn't be a bad thing to be involved with for a long period of time, because you would get an adjustment, in terms of how you ride, your technique and everything would just progress the longer you're with it. So yeah, hopefully it works out for you. But yeah, I'm stoked to see you this weekend. One, because I can get an up close look at it all while it's on the coverage. But yes, interested to see how it all plays out, obviously across the different events that you'll be able to get to. And yeah, hopefully you just enjoy it, mate. Like, it should be a really cool opportunity to be a part of. And I'm sure you're going to get some people saying dumb stuff, but also asking really cool questions of you when you're at the track and in the pits and stuff between races.
Yeah, there's always going to be those people that, think the electric bike is beating in a sense. Like, as they say, if you can't beat them, join them. So we'll see how we go this weekend, and hopefully we can get a few more people on the start, because that'll help my case. But I'm just excited to go racing, keep learning, and obviously the world is heading this way. So I think if you can start, I'm only sort of preparing myself for probably things to come. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, look, it's going to be an awesome opportunity. So, yeah, well done on that, and good luck for the weekend. I'll see you down there. Appreciate you making some time for us tonight on the show on AlwaysMoto. Yeah, we'll let you go, mate. We'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Sorry I was late. I clicked the wrong link. That's why I was not ready to go.
You clicked the first one. I had to send you two. We were having a little tech issue before we hit start, and apparently I sounded like a robot, so we had to shut that one off and start again. So my bad. But no, we're all good, mate.
No, all good. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Sounds good. Thanks, Charlie.
See you, mate.
See you, boys.
All right, that was Jyle Campbell, privateer from Australia, going to be racing the Stark Future in the Oz Pro MX for a couple of rounds, and obviously, like we're talking about the New South Wales Motocross state titles, we're going to be doing the YouTube commentary again. So we're going to have, like I said, Benny, hopefully I'm going to be able to say, hey, guess I know who's going to haul shot, and not tell him that anyone that he's on a Stark until after he's done 2 or 3 of them. So,
maybe just leave it till, I know you'd want to do it for the first one, but maybe just leave it, see how the first start goes.
If you want to play the safe bet, that's what you'd do. I'm just going to rip it out there, and it either works or it doesn't. And if you look like a clown, well, you look like a clown. But sometimes you look like an absolute genius. So that's what I'm going for.
I'm going to be in the chat, and I'll just make sure that it happens. If it doesn't, I'm going to call you out in the chat.
Oh, look, let's just see how that all plays out. Yeah. So, no, that'll be cool. So, yeah, appreciate having Jyle on. It was good to catch him up. Now, let's jump into what we're going to do is a short, and let me just see if I've got this. Hopefully I've got the right intro here. Otherwise, we're going to sound like a bit weird. We're going to go to the emergency department, Benny. Nope, I've got the wrong thing, and it's set, and I can't change it. No. Oh, well, no intro music today. What a shame. After we've rebooted it, I didn't get to change it before I hit record. Now I can't change it mid-show. Anyway.
Yeah.
Amateur hour.
Loose program.
Yeah, amateur hour. All right. Emergency department. Updates. Now, funnily enough, 11 whoops, rutted track. You'd think there'd be all these injuries because we've only had 9 whoops and we had to cut it down for safety reasons. Amazingly, these guys can still ride 11 whoops, right, Benny?
Is that just because they were rolling them, going slow because of how they were?
You're looking at the glass half empty, right? Like, I was trying to make a positive out of it. I was going to also then, go full negative on myself as well, because I did say that there was plenty of crashes in that area. Just obviously they're going so slow that it doesn't hurt when you fall over at a slow speed. But in saying that, that's part of my point with all these injuries, is that our tracks have been getting so fast because they can jump quads, because they can rail pretty much anything and jump triple out of a corner on any bike, 250 or 450. Our tracks are so fast. We're not slowing these guys down enough. And so obviously when they're at that high speed, things hurt and break at high speed. If you're going slower with a more technical track, which I think is a Chad Reed thing as well, about talking about how the track should be, when they're more technical, they fall off at a slower pace, they're less likely to get injured. Geez, it's amazing how much common sense was involved in that conversation just then.
Yeah, I know. High speed hurts. I know you know that.
Thank you for a reminder yet again.
But yeah, it's one of those things that, some people can go fast and then, they can deal with it. And some people can go fast and get very out of shape and then not be able to control it. Yeah,
I think the fact that everyone could potentially go fast on some of our tracks is the problem, right? It should be more technical so that they can't just send it. They have to actually have some technicality to the role of doing that section. So then they do go, oh, I'm not good enough, I'll just double this section, or I'll roll double to make it work or something. I won't try and go the big triple on and off section. I might double on, double up, double jump over the table and then make the next section, whatever it works out. But it should be that they can't because they don't have that skill set, right? And the good guys can because they do have that skill set. And then it still slows both parties down. The track being more technical, they're not, overall average speed would be down, which would prevent some injuries. But yeah, it's common sense to me, but it seems to be they're going the other way, making it simpler, making it faster, and we're getting plenty of injuries. Like, we're in the 40s for the injuries tally for the season so far. So it's not a good sign. But wanted to talk about four guys. One, Prado. The PR last week said that he was going to be back for Daytona. That would have to mean that he's a grade 1 AC joint separation, which is pretty minor. And he could be taped up and ready to go. But for some reason, I just don't feel like he's going to be back. But we won't know that answer until basically Friday, when press day would be occurring. So this is to be confirmed at this point.
Yeah, I haven't seen, whether it's 1 or 3, whatever grade, that the AC separation is no big deal. That's all I've seen online from everyone, just it's no big deal. He'll be right, strap him up, away he goes.
I know, yeah, I have seen it all. It's amazing how stupid people can be. But a grade 1 is very minor, but it is still a week to 2 that you aren't capable of doing your normal activities at the top end of the performance levels. But a grade 3, you're 6 weeks before doing anything. Like, it's people. You've raised my concerns about humanity there, Benny, in terms of how dumb they can be. But
if you're into Moto and you've only got to look at Moto socials to know what people are like, it's very the crowd is interesting to say the least.
Well, when you talk to the crowd, we're sort of going out of the injury side of things here, but those initial crowds we had in the first few rounds were wild from the videos that we've seen through the group chats and stuff. Like, there's been some interesting behavior going on in the stands, and kind of glad that I didn't have, the wife and kids there to witness some of this stuff, because explain that to a 9-year-old or whatever. That's not appropriate.
Yeah, I know we're off, a little bit off topic, but I don't really recall anything like that here. Like, maybe back in the day, but I don't, and I know we're sort of behind the scenes a bit and stuff like that, but even with our view, from the press box and stuff like that, we've sort of got a good view on everyone. You don't really see anything like that happening here, like maybe in the stairways and stuff like that, but you just don't really see anything like that.
Yeah,
I
don't know what it is. I feel like we're so happy the fact that some of these races are happening and that we've got certain internationals that have come, and we're all just happy to be there and see it. And everyone's just stoked on the fact that it's going on. And because we only have 4 or 5 of them in a year, don't want to wreck it sort of thing. So again, I'm with you. I don't think I've seen anything like that either. There might have been the odd punch on afterwards when everybody's a bit, had one too many and they're trying to get a cab or whatever, but that's not around sitting in the stands happening,
Yeah, I think I remember 2000 at the Sydney Superdome, I think it would have been at that point, went to Crusty Demons, and I remember, I was only young then, obviously, but I remember there being a punch up in the stairs and, Dad grabbing me away, pulling me away to stay away from it and try and not see it. But, yeah, really that's probably the only thing I can think of.
But that's a Krusty show back in the day.
Yeah.
You kind of expected that, right? That's a loose crowd there. Yeah. No, you're right. It's interesting. So, but anyway, no. So back on to Prado there. Let's wait and see. But it is a minor AC separation, which means that ligament is partially torn, but not completely. So he could ride. It's just how much he wants to tough it out. We'll see. We'll wait and see. I'll hopefully get an update. I don't know if I'm going to get some of my updates in this week, Benny, because I'm going to be traveling to Canberra on Friday. So we'll have to see if I get my videos out at the end of the week or not. But we'll see we'll see what we can manage. Joe Shimoda. I saw this one on X. People were so confused and sort of astonished that when he had the press day interviews, that he mentioned that he had his neck fusion for the broken vertebra that he had in the preseason injury was fused from the front. Now I'm pointing at the front of my neck for those that are on the podcast and you can't see me. Touch the front of your neck where your voice box is. That's where they're going in. Now, people were shocked at then thinking, why didn't they go in from the back? Your spine's at the back. Well, yeah, that sort of makes sense too, but it depends on the type of movement that's available at the joint, where the injury is that they need to work on, and what's going to have the best outcome afterwards. And also, from a wound point of view, how they can best manage and heal the wound. The skin at the front is a lot easier to get through than the skin at the back. And yes, if you're doing a laminectomy, which is where they remove part of the bone from the backside of the vertebrae, they would go in the back. But because they were fusing and they were screwing 2 bodies of vertebrae together, they would go in through the front. Now, what shocked somebody when I put up a response to this on Twitter, X, I keep calling it Twitter. Benny, where are we at? Are we Twitter or X? What are we doing?
Both. Doesn't matter.
I think we have to go to X. It's been X now for probably a long time.
Yeah, but it was Twitter longer than that. Everyone still says Twitter. New people say X. It's whatever. We know what we're talking about.
All right, sure. All right. As long as
whatever you feel.
Okay. It could be the dickety doc, right? I haven't said that in a while.
Yeah. Although, if we're talking about those interesting moments from Supercross, it needs to be X.
Okay, good point. All right, it's X. Yeah. So on X, I made a comment back, and funnily enough, I did a quick Google because I know that I've seen when I was in the clinic side of things, and even with the setting that I'm in now, I still see some of the reports, but I've seen a lot of anterior approach for these sorts of repairs. And I thought, I wonder what the percentage of them is. It's actually 80% of the time they're going in the front for a neck vertebral fusion, which makes a lot of sense. Yes, you've got to watch out for your windpipe, and that's where some people can have a little bit of a croaky voice afterwards. That's also from the tube down the throat. So, we're crossing paths here. But the other side of it that actually works is the wound that I mentioned. Yes, the skin's tougher a bit on the back. When you actually cut through the neck, they actually will go, and through the front, they'll actually go horizontally across your neck. So they'll actually try and hide the wound in basically your fat rolls of your neck creases, Benny. Just so, just in case you're ever wondering what they're trying to do there, it actually aesthetically is nicer. It hides the wound better in the long run.
Yeah, and it was, his scars pretty noticeable.
Yeah, I think I
not
saw
mine.
that actually on the side a bit, wasn't it?
Yeah, not many fat rolls on Joe's neck, like mine. But
Athlete,
yeah,
no, but
it's-
like later in life, as he gets older and creases a few more, it'll just
Yeah.
blend right in, right?
yeah, that's right. So yeah, no, it's interesting to see. But yeah, that's whatever gets them back quicker, and whatever makes it easier.
Exactly, and that's where they're at, right? Like this is the best process for the recovery. It's also the most commonly done now, so the surgeons are more well versed in that approach. So it made sense to me. Didn't obviously make sense to anybody else that was listening from our general fan base. So thought I'd bring it up, other than just on the X comment that I put in there. So, and if you're not following us on X, I don't get on there too often, but when I do, it's usually with something hopefully somewhat intelligent. So anyway, and if not, it's really dumb, just to match the rest of us. Christian Craig, Joey Savacci. Interesting. Both of the quad lock boys are riding through some fractures, which is interesting in itself. Joey with a broken big toe on his left foot, and Christian Craig with some broken fingers, pinky and ring finger, on, I believe it's his left hand, from that crash where Jason Anderson decided to throw his bike at the field and it managed to catch out Christian Craig. For Christian, it's obviously a bit more interesting because holding onto the handlebars is a bit more difficult to be done with this particular injury, but he managed one round to get through, one of probably the harder ones so far. So that was an interesting one. The higher speeds at Daytona will be interesting on his grip and whether he can maintain that as well through the night. So that'll be interesting to keep an eye on, and probably someone that I personally was staying away from last week from a fantasy pick point of view. But Joey, you wouldn't even know that he's got the injury, despite the fact he's saying it's a bit sore when he shifts up gears, obviously, because he's putting load on that big toe. But other than a crash the other week, and a crash, in Arlington as well, but he's still got a 7th. Joey Savacci is riding exceptionally well with a broken big toe, with a fracture in his body,
Yeah, and we sort of saw in World Supercross, towards the end how he was riding, and it's sort of carried over, and he's been, really good. And then you sort of hear he's got a broken toe, and you think, he's probably going to fade back a little bit, a few positions maybe, but nothing's changed. It's, he's absolutely killing it right now.
Yeah, he's super solid at the moment, injury or no injury. So that's really, really cool to see. There's got to be like a career best result, which would be a 3rd position, I believe, for him. I think he's got a couple of 4ths now. There's got to be a career best coming for him this season. You would have to think, with the field thinning, so long as he doesn't get bitten by the bigger injury bug. He's already got a little injury bug bite, but yeah, if he stays healthy, there's got to be a career best for him. You would have to think, right?
Yeah, I'd think so.
Yeah, so no, well done, Joey. But yeah, just interesting that those two quad lock Honda boys are both riding with minor fractures in different locations and reasonably okay, so far. Obviously, there's complications along the lines if they have another stack, but for the moment, all good. All right, so that's our emergency department office. Benny, you're going to say something?
Yeah, before we leave the emergency department, I'll throw something at you.
Yeah, go.
We've talked about it, when your thoughts on when Jet might come back, if he does come back. If he wasn't going to come back, but he was right to ride, do you think now that changes and he comes back and be a protector for Hunter? So, like, if he was just going to wait it out and just do outdoors only, does he now come back and, is that ankle going to be all right? But does he come back and protect Hunter?
I don't think Hunter needs protecting. I think Hunter is actually...
Well, not protect, but...
No. Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, in terms of the points, not in terms of, like, don't take him out sort of thing. I feel that Hunter has the opportunity himself to do this this season, as we were talking at the beginning of the show. I honestly don't think that would make any difference. You might see him do it at, like, the final round or two, just play back, and sit behind him for the result if they were 1-2 sort of thing. But honestly, I don't think, like, Jet would take a week or two at a race pace to get probably to a winning point. But I still think the Jet comes back with sort of 4 or 5 rounds to go and potentially wins 2 or 3 of them. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see Hunter do it without him. Like, I'd really like that he could do it without him there. But yeah, just a thought I had.
Yeah, no, I don't think it really changes too much. Really, I don't think it speeds up or slows down his return point. I just think when he's ready, he'll be there. Now, if I'm doing so it was a week. Was it a week and a half ago that we put up that he was mountain biking? We talk about that on our last show? I think we did. So that would be 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if next week or the week after he's turned track outdoor riding. That's where I think he's at, and I think he has most of March to build. So he'll have a 4-week block of riding, and then he'll be into it. And let me just check too, because there is a break coming up, obviously just after, I think it's after Indy, which adds into this here. So I'm just getting my calendar out. After Indy we've got a week off, but that's the only week off in the season. So it doesn't really help in terms of when he would come back, but I think that Nashville or Cleveland is the point that you will see Jet on track, if at all. Yeah, which would put him 4 to 5 weeks, 4 to 5 rounds remaining in the season. So let's keep an eye on it. But yeah, wouldn't be surprised to see a post first day back on the bike next week or the week after. Yeah, he's at that point. So yeah. All right, emergency department exited. Product inspection time. I've got to bring it up again. The Duramooses. We have our support from Duramoose for the show. They've given us some product, but they've also given us a discount code for you guys to use. Now, if you guys haven't started using mooses in your bikes for any of your riding, one, you probably have had a lot of flat tires in your time, and maybe you're a little bit dumb to the fact that there's an alternative out there to, save you from having to do that. Duramoose, the guys there have been actually really exceptional. Peter, who we've had on the podcast, we had a full podcast show with just him that involved, the product and explanation. The customer service that Peter does is second to none. I had a chat with him this week when we were trying to order some for the wife's bike for the upcoming season, and down to the tires, the riding style, the riding terrains, he is asking everything to make sure he's giving you the best product out there for the scenario that you're trying to use it in. So with whichever tire that you're using it. So please check out Duramoose. Use the code always 10, I think it is, but check our bio for that code and keep that going. Now, there's one other thing, Benny, that I haven't even told you yet, but we sort of just mentioned it with the Jyle Campbell interview there about a 4-stroke being brought into the garage. Yamaha Australia has stepped in and are going to give us, or have given us, a WR250 as our bike of choice for the foreseeable future. So we are pretty much from here on out going to be the Yamaha Moto Australia supported show and WR250 speaking, riding people. We've got some partners coming on board. Duramoose is going to be one of them. They're going to support us with some mooses for the WR. Michelin Australia and Gas Imports is going to supply us with some Stark Varg 6s for it as well. So that's really cool. Reaching out to a few other brands to see if we can get some of you on board for some things that we would like to tweak from the stock version of the WR. But we're going to have some pretty cool WR250 content coming here shortly, Benny.
Yeah, that's cool. You may as well just sell the Sherco and just keep riding these media bikes.
Well, it has come up. I haven't, because of the WR only just arriving, and there is a race not this weekend but next week then that I'm going to do. the weekend after that I'm going to do. I'm not going to have the WR in a state that is race ready, let's say, to steal a term from another brand. But so the Sherco will get a use then. But if we get all these other components that I would like to pick out that I would normally use on a bike for race scenarios, then yeah, the Sherco might get the boot shortly. So we'll see. We'll see. Nothing wrong with the Sherco. I love my Sherco, but having these other bikes in the garage, we don't need them all sitting there collecting dust at different times because I'm focused in on one at the point. So the Stark has been it. It's going this week, unfortunately. I'm going to shed a tear. It's been an awesome time with the Stark Varg. Can't wait to get another one at some point. Hint, hint. Stark Future Australia. But yeah, the Yamaha will have to fill the void for the time being, and I'm sure it will. It's an awesome bike. So I'm looking forward to playing with the Power Tuner app, actually. So seeing what I can tweak there and if I can get rid of the engine braking feeling that we're discussing with Jyle as well. So we'll see how we go.
Be interesting.
Yes, definitely will be. All right. How to watch the race this weekend. Benny, over to you, mate. When are we watching the racing this weekend?
5 a.m. is the race day live, and I think it's 11 a.m. is the night show. Watch it on the app. Don't try and get those third-party
Don't be a
apps.
freeloader.
Yeah. And if you're watching it on your phone, make sure you got your quad lock case to protect it, just in case.
Yes, the quad lock stuff. We're going to have an article out with them shortly. I'm going to get the last pieces of finishing touches. Need a couple of photos for it. So, yes, the vibration aspect, the dampener that they have. I've got it right here, and I'll put it up on the screen. The vibration dampener that you must have on your bike with the phone so that you don't destroy your screen is a very cool feature for them with their quad locks. But yes, you need to be watching it via your phone with your quad lock case on. So they do have the Ducati one out, actually. So you've got the Chucky Sanders special with the Apple. Yep. They sent me a press release the other day. There is a Ducati version now. So
there's two different Ducati versions.
Oh, is there? I didn't read the press release close enough then.
Yeah, there's two different ones.
Yeah, well, there we go. So any of our Ducati fans out there, now I said to the guys at Quadlock, there's probably not many in our watching list unless they're a crossover with a road bike. But any Ducati fans out there, they have a Quadlock for you specifically now. So check it out. Weather, Daytona. We've had some interesting races at Daytona over the years weather-wise, Benny. This one has the potential to be interesting.
I hope it doesn't rain.
No, you never know in Florida is what I've been told. But temperature-wise, it should be good. 16 to 19 degrees is what the range is going to be Celsius for the non-Australian speaking metric people. But drizzle is in the forecast in the morning and in the nighttime program slot. So does that drizzle turn into anything major or does it not happen at all? We don't know. It's the weather. Who knows what it's going to do? But there's potential for a soft track, let's say, a softer track than usual.
Yeah, and then if there's drizzle and soft, there's potential for goggle problems and other things. So it could be interesting. Throws
a spanner into the works that wasn't there previously. So yeah, look. I love watching Daytona from the coverage. I think it's a unique look of the track, the dark soil, the layout. Obviously, I say the layout could probably be better at times, but Carmichael is the designer, so you can't be too shabby there. People whinge about being there watching live because of the low ground position that you're watching from, but this is one of the races to watch at home for us internationals that you want to be watching it live if you can. I'm probably going to have to set the phone up with the quad lock case in the commentary box on Sunday morning and just let it run while I'm trying to commentate. So maybe I might slip in a couple of wrong references along the way. We'll see if I'm watching the wrong screen at the wrong time. But anybody else, I'd highly recommend watching Daytona live. And Benny, what's in your plans? Have you got time to do this on the weekend or are you going to be out?
No, I'll be sitting down watching it. As much as Ellie hates it when Supercross is on, we don't do anything.
Yep, the man of the house has got the TV remote and he's in control.
Yeah.
So upcoming events-wise, Daytona is this weekend, obviously February 28. State titles that we talked about, they are this weekend. So I'll be there at the New South Wales State titles in Canberra, doing the YouTube live stream with my commentary co-host, Russ Hicks from PSC Motorsports there on the Central Coast. So me and Russ, hopefully we'll be doing a good job. If we're not, don't tell me. I don't want to know. Just smile and wave. So that's this weekend. Then the Australian Enduro Championship is going to kick off the following weekend in Roma, Victoria. We're finally getting to the point where we're getting back to all these series about to kick off, Benny. MXGP is going to start that same weekend in Argentina on the 8th of March. The following weekend, the Queensland State titles kick off in Warwick. New South Wales Off-Road that same weekend. And we're a month out from Oz Pro MX kicking off at Wonthaggi, which is probably our big one on our calendar to mark down for everybody. The Oz Pro MX Series Round 1, Wonthaggi, March 21st. Vic State titles are April. They're a fair ways off, in the Hard Enduro Championship. The Kosciuszko Killer's not until April either, so bit of a wait for the Hard Enduro guys to get their fix just yet. But plenty of venues and races about to get into swing, which will be awesome. Now, one that we haven't mentioned there, Benny, Australian Supercross. Do you know what's going on?
I've got no idea, and that does not surprise me because...
Well, look, it's an interesting one because obviously there's a lot of people talking rumours out there about the series, and yes, we have had some delays in venue announcements, calendar announcements in the years past. And this one so far, it's not super delayed, but it's not super early either. It's sort of somewhere in the middle. I have heard that that's going to be announced in about 4 to 6 weeks' time. So
that's about, yeah.
It would fit. It's going to be about that. If we get to, we're going to have to mental note here, Benny. If we get to May and we haven't heard anything, we're going to have to make a bit of a jump up and down.
I think it was April last year. So, yep, that's about
yeah, so at least they're consistently late-ish. So, anyway. But I've got a source, Benny, on some inside word here for Australian Supercross. So, yeah, I've got a pretty good source.
We need to know who the source is. The group chat has been on you.
Oh, look, that's what spurred this on. I got to say, yeah. We'll throw to Pup there spurring the contact, but I can't give up my source.
You got to tell us.
Oh, look, all right, I'll tell you, but and that's who my source is.
Hang on, it cut out.
Hang on. You sure?
Hang on. Try that again.
All right. My source at. So that's my source, right? Like it's a pretty top level source.
No. It cut out again.
Oh look, maybe it's a sign from the podcasting YouTube channel gods that we can't reveal the source. All right.
I know we were having problems at the start and we had to restart, but now they've come back.
Look, I've
said it
twice. If you haven't heard it, maybe the YouTube channel has. They can let us know in the comments below if they heard who I dropped as my source. But it's up there, right? Like the podcast listeners, the audio only people can't see my hand, but it's up high, right, Benny?
Yeah, see, Moz in the group chat told me to bring the heat. This is going to make me reach through the screen and bring the heat because now no one knows.
Was he referring to like you wanted to bring a heat gun in or something? Like I'm not sure what his heat comment was. Like it is freaking hot. I will say that, right? Like temperature-wise.
It's pretty hot here today. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. Well, anyway, look back to the topic at hand. The rumors from my source. We have a 5-round potential series coming again. So the rumors originally about 6, 7, 8 rounds that were going around at the end of last year sound like that's not going to happen, which I'm a little disappointed in because I'd like to see an expansion in the series where we keep at least keep the existing venues and add new states or countries or whatever is the opportunities here. But for the moment, they're going to stick with what they're stable with, it seems, and 5. But that could change. But source says 5 for the moment. Are you disappointed in that, Benny, or where you lie on the 5-round series?
Yeah, a little bit. More racing, more. I'm all for that. And a bigger series for us would be good, especially with more imports coming over and racing. It'd be better, for them to be here a bit longer. But yeah, there's also, the fans want to see. You've got your outdoor season where there's however many rounds there is. Forget, but Supercross is, a lot of people like Supercross more than outdoors, and it's shorter than outdoors. So for me, I'd like to see it expand and go different places, but we still can't complain if there's at least 5. At least we're not doing 2 or 3, or at least there's 5.
Yeah, we're sort of, at least with 5, or at least on the point where I would say it's a bubble to say we can actually call it a series. Like when it was under 5, it was really a stretch to say it was a series, right? It was probably more of a couple of exhibition events that they then turned into a series because that's all we had. But at least at 5, I think you can say, yeah, it's a series at that point. So I'm okay with it. I'd like to see it be 6 at least this year. So there's still potential. But like I said, the source at this stage is saying 5. In terms of which venues. Now, of the ones we had last year, Benny, we had 2 Redcliffs, we had a Cronulla, we had a Melbourne at Marvel Stadium, and we had the Adelaide in conjunction with Adelaide 500. Now, I would expect from confirmation of a sorts from the source that Adelaide and Marvel are still in. I don't see those changing unless something happens, particularly around that Adelaide and the MotoGP announcement recently, and whether that throws a spanner in their plans. But that's where we suspect things are going. The other 2 venues, Redcliffe and Cronulla, are interesting because I've got talk from the source that Western Australia and New Zealand are on the calendar for 2026. So that would tell me that we are dropping one of the existing venues, Redcliffe or Cronulla, and that's a Queensland or a New South Wales event from our series, which would be rather difficult because both New South Wales and Queensland have been well attended and have a fair chunk of our riding community in those locations.
Yeah. There's big numbers from both states there. But with the whispers that I heard, I know you've got the confirmations, but the whispers I heard at the end of the year, the Queensland one was the one that was going to be left out. So I'm interested to see. That sort of falls in line with what you're saying.
It is, but that's where I'm like hoping that 6th round brings back a Queensland, whether it's the same Queensland venue or a different Queensland venue, but just a Queensland round. For me, we need to have a Queensland, a New South Wales, a Victorian round on the series, no matter what we have race-wise. If you throw in then the Adelaide one, and you throw in, then if you go the WA New Zealand ideas, great, we're at 6. That's probably a really sweet spot. We've covered 5 of the Australian states, and we've got a New Zealand inclusion. But if we don't have Queensland or we don't have New South Wales, and if what you're saying there is true that the Queensland one is the one that gets dropped, that's a hard oomph for a lot of people.
Yeah. And, I think with, New Zealand don't really get much over there. It's not much that goes on. But it's how many riders go? You got your professional teams, they'll go, but privateers and stuff like that, like who actually goes?
Well, we've got people in the group chat that are, privateer-ish level, moving their way forward in that as well, but they will have some issues getting to a WA and a New Zealand. I think the New Zealand and the WA rounds would be well attended from a fan point of view, but they might be poorly attended from a rider point of view because our privateers are going to find it difficult to get the funds to go, if they're East Coast based, all the way across the country and back, and depending on when they put that in as well, in terms of do they got to do it leave from one race to go to that one, or go from that one to the next race. And then if you throw in the international aspect for the New Zealand, for a privateer, that's hard. Like, they're going to have to organise some sort of international customs clearance for race bikes as a group to let this happen, not just for teams who can afford it and stuff, but the series would have to, I would hope, have to organise something along those lines to assist the privateers to go, which I don't think any of that stuff is organised yet. Like, obviously, if they haven't announced the calendar and the venues, they haven't confirmed the calendar and the venues, so then they haven't got to the next step of confirming how we get logistics, how we getting there and back, and getting our people there and back, and all that sort of stuff. So I think the moral of this story so far is the series is potentially expanding, but not expanding into different venues, but also becoming maybe slightly more difficult, but is still very much up in the air.
Yeah, and looking at Marvel as well, there was sort of talk from Jet and Hunter last year that they most likely weren't going to come back this year.
Yep.
I think even if like they are trying, they're getting some good names. They're unlucky with Bowman to get injured and not come last year.
Same with Davies.
Yeah, and Davies, but I still, even with someone like that, do they still, without the brothers, get a big pool, a big enough crowd pool to have Marvel? Like, there was less people there last year than the year before, and that was the second year that Jet and Hunter were there. But yeah, I don't know. That'd be interesting to see.
Well, when I was talking about this last night after getting some of this source information, that, wife, Jen, she's like, I don't know why they're going to bother trying to put Marvel on, because without those two draw cards, she didn't think it'd be worth it. And kind of partly agree, but I'm on the other boat where you just need to spend the money that you would have spent on Jet and Hunter and their crew. You have to divvy that up over as many riders as you possibly can from the US to basically go, hey, we don't have Jet and Hunter, but we have 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 guys across 250 and 450 that you've never seen in our country before. This is your chance,
Yeah. And then, there'd be a lot of people that haven't seen Hayden before.
Well, even though he might have to be one for AusX this time, not World Supercross. He might have to be an AusX sort of signing this time around.
Yeah, like, he's been here before. So does that, if they do get him, does that then, there would have been a lot of people that didn't see him at the Gold Coast, but does that again draw, not as many numbers because it's not that first time, it's not the initial, time he's here, like, stuff like that. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, no, it's there's a lot to fall into place yet. Like, a lot of this is still like, it's been confirmed that that's what they're trying to do, but in terms of actually it's booked on a calendar, not done yet. So, look, it's a fair way off, but in reality, it's not that far off. It'll be here before that we know it, but we want this series to be as strong as possible because it's our Supercross championship, right? Like, it's what we want it to. We want it to be there. We want it to be surviving and well attended, and plenty of teams and privateers all being able to get in and be a part of it. And even for me, I was joking about, when I asked the question, are we WA, are we NZ? Do I need to work out an actual budget to be able to attend as a media guy? Like, even for us to get to those things, all of a sudden I can't drive. I could drive to Queensland and Victoria in a day sort of thing and only miss one day of work to be able to attend, press day and do it. I'm a flight, so I'm, $300-400 in flight now. Don't have a car, so I've got to have a car hire, and my expenses go up as well just to be able to cover it, which I would love to go to both of those because I've never been to New Zealand and WA at all. Yeah. So that'd be cool. I'd love to. Yeah. It's just physically there's now a financial burden for me as well as like the team, the rider, everyone has got to be there. So yeah, it's a different scenario, but let's see what they confirm here, hopefully mid-April. But that's where we're at so far.
So who was the source? Just Tell us again.
Oh yeah, my source was, and yeah, so that's our source, you know.
Yeah, it still didn't work. That's right.
You're
You're gonna
kidding.
have to up instead of going to Canberra this weekend. You need to go and buy some good quality microphone and more tech, because something's wrong there,
Mate, it's got to be like the YouTube gods, all right? Like I said it as clear as I could possibly say it. I don't know what's going on, but I've got quality stuff. This is going to be, I don't have any affiliation. I paid full price for this stuff. This Rode stuff, it's Australian product, mate. Or maybe they should come on board, but it's quality stuff. It's got nothing to do with the Rode mic. I'm telling you that. Might be user error, but it's not not the equipment, right?
It's possible.
All right. Well, let's. That's pretty much it. We're going to do our outro of the show here. We're going to say goodbye to the contractor and get him off the line, but then we're going to play our pre-recorded interview. So fingers crossed this goes off without a hitch. It should. But so basically, thank you for guys and girls for listening or watching. If you're not watching, you should be on our YouTube channel, subscribe to it. If you're not listening, you should be on the podcast player following our feed, so you can do it on either or. But mostly, actually, we've hit the point we can get our first monetization level, Benny, in the YouTube channel. So hopefully it's all still being approved, but we've hit that point finally. So we really want everybody going over to that YouTube channel and subscribing. That's making a difference. We'll hopefully start making a bit of a difference for us. So maybe we can pay, if enough people watch our, amateur hour show here, that we can pay for things like a trip to New Zealand or WA if it ends up on the calendar, right? But yeah, look, the other part, you can buy a t-shirt. $25 is a pretty cheap t-shirt these days, but it supports Always Moto. info@alwaysmoto.com. Check out our written articles over on fullnoise.com.au. Full Noise is obviously supporting us and having our content over there. They've been putting up our Stark videos. They'll be putting up our Yamaha videos. So check out fullnoise.com.au. Thanks to our partners, obviously Yamaha Motor Australia, technicmotorsport.com, duramoose.com.au, Pivot Pegs, Competitive Edge Performance, Tech 167 3D Printing. Thanks to the wife and kids for letting me get this done. Thanks to Benny. Thanks to Jyle Campbell for coming on. Thanks to Scott Meshey, who you're about to see. Benny, final thoughts?
Thanks to the source.
Thanks to the source, who was still apparently is nameless, but I said it 3 times, mate. I don't know what you didn't hear. Maybe the YouTube. I haven't checked the YouTube comments, but my YouTube is switched off here. But maybe there's a YouTube comment about who's the source. Oh, look, get your internet fist, mate. Missing out on the source. Yep. Thanks, Chris. Maybe it is the internet. I don't know.
Hopefully it's come through in the podcast.
Well, maybe. Look, maybe you'll have to go and subscribe and to the podcast feed, and it'll be slipped in there perfectly. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, all right, Benny, drop off the line for me. Thanks for tonight, mate. We'll close this one off and we'll get to our video here. So let me just go to host only.
All right. See you later.
Thanks, Benny. So we will get to this will be a Scott Meshey interview. When it ends, that will be the end of our show. So thank you guys and girls out there for watching and listening. But let me get this video up and we will hit the play option. And here's Scott Meshey. All right, let's get to it. It's our interview time on the show. Now, this is a pre-recorded one. We've obviously got our live show running. We're going to drop this in as we go. You can see him on the screen here. He is riding for the McGinley Privateer Support Program. It's the number 411. Scott Meshey. Scott, how we doing, mate?
Doing all right, man. Doing all right. Staying in one piece. So that's a big thing. I know there's a lot of injuries going on in Supercross. So, hey, that's always a positive.
Mate, that's got to be like one of the quietest skills that you can own in Supercross is to not get injured, but it's also probably one of the most difficult things to not do, as is evident from the season so far, because the list is pretty large at the moment. But you're doing a good job on that side of things so far through, 7 rounds now?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the big thing. I have to make sure that obviously got to keep my head about me, make sure that we're there for all 17 rounds. And yeah, I mean, it's brutal, man. It's a brutal sport. And, Supercross, I mean, everybody's seeing, it doesn't take much. So, obviously just making sure that, doing whatever you can, doing all the little bits and pieces to keep yourself healthy.
Is there much to that during the week for you? And like, obviously you're under the McGinley clinic now, which everybody's probably knows a little bit about from some of the ads that they've had through Outdoors and some of the interviews that Dr. McGinley's a part of now on that the Supercross Next, those shows they do during the week, the insider shows. So is there anything that's sort of benefiting you, or is that just you're part of like the bike traveling to the races sort of side of things of that program? How's it working for you?
Well, I will say that so the McGinley Clinic, they're a pretty integral part of what we do. At least in offering, any type of support that we need, as far as injury goes. So whether that's, injury prevention, and obviously, if we do have an injury, they have an incredible network, of treatments and being able to, get us connected with the right people to get scans done quickly, to get treated quickly, to get surgery quickly if needed. And that's a huge resource. Obviously, they have the ability to, also be able to give us, proper injury prevention protocols that help us if that's something that we want to dive more into depth with. Personally, I will say that probably over the last year and a half, 2 years, I've been doing a lot more stretching and learning that is extremely, extremely important. It's funny because it's like one of the most like, man, like you almost just want to get it done. But when you do it, it's like, man, it does feel really good. And, in the weekends where, you come out of situations and you're like, man, I don't know how I didn't get hurt. That's probably a pretty good factor as to why you aren't. So yeah, it's a lot of recovery. Recovery is, huge, and obviously making sure that you're, well stretched and making sure that your body is able to handle the things that you're asking of it. That's, putting all those elements together is huge.
Oh yeah, and I will say on the stretching side of things, if you're coupling it in the right manner with your other training things to make sure you've got strength at the end of the range that you're stretching into, it all helps in that injury prevention side of things, but there's more to it than just go and reach your toes for a stretch. So yeah, there's lots to it, but yeah, it sounds like those guys are, they've been getting more and more into depth with the Moto guys, and obviously now with their support program and stuff. I saw a little bit of it during the Outdoors last year, but it just seems to keep growing. So obviously Dr. McGinley's got a personal passion in it as well, which is nice because you don't see too many medical guys, sort of in that coming into a motorsport sort of scenario, particularly Moto. But yeah, obviously he's got a personal passion there too. So we'll have to have a chat with him maybe personally one day. But speaking, yeah,
He's a phenomenal guy. I mean, honestly, I have had people that I know personally, just even, on a local level. I'm like, hey, I will text him directly and say, hey, I have a vet buddy. This is an actual, example. I have a vet buddy that, tore his knee. Like, can you, talk to him and see what kind of stuff would be, helpful? And, he's like, yeah, give him my personal cell phone number, that's awesome. Chat with him. Like, that's huge. Like, and even guys that, are at the facility that I ride at, amateur guys, he's open to being able to help, any rider however he can. I know that he has a history of riding, and his son rides as well. So it's, the love for the sport is there.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you don't get into our sport without having that. So yeah, he's obviously done it in the past, and if his son's riding, yeah, he's well and truly in the depths of it now. So
yeah.
Now let's chat about your season so far, and I feel like this has sort of come off the back of a decision you made maybe partway through last year. So far through the 7 rounds, you're qualifying reasonably well. You're always in that sort of 30 range. Your LCQs, you've been right there in terms of that 4th and position for qualifying, just not quite getting the job done. Was it A2 or A1 that was the one where you're probably the closest but had the crash at the end?
Yeah, that was Anaheim too.
It was Anaheim too. So I felt like you were probably going to get a 5th, if not a 4th there and qualify in, but that one little issue there with the crash, I think it was last lap or close enough too. So your season is going the right direction. I think it's only a matter of time before we actually get a couple of these qualified into. But what I mentioned there about last year, you didn't do Outdoors, and I think you just stayed in that Supercross riding pattern, maybe more so than you would have in previous years. I feel that's done a big benefit. What made you do that? Was it probably a bit financially driven? Because obviously Outdoors is expensive, but was there a a particular mindset that you went, I want to be better in Supercross, so I think that's where my skills lie, I'm going to just focus on it? Or what led to this point that you got here?
There was actually it's kind of multi-leveled,
Okay.
I would say. So, financially is definitely one. Obviously, I, going and doing all of the outdoor rounds is super expensive. But I had also, last year, during Supercross, I was using the same bikes for practice and race that I had the year before.
Okay.
So by the time that I was finished with Supercross, my practice bike had close to 90 hours on it, and my race bike had, man, I want to say that it had 50 or so on it. And I was like, man, and to the average person, that may not seem like that much. It's certainly a good amount, but it's as a professional racer, I mean, that's me putting all of those hours on it. That's a lot of Supercross hours. That's 2 full seasons of Supercross.
Yeah.
And then, racing some outdoors. That's a lot of time. And so for me, I was like, man, to be able to, with 1 weekend off, turn around, trying to sell bikes and get new ones, it's just not something that was, going to be able to happen. It was just not really on the table. And then, of course, the race expenses on top of it. So there was a huge kind of financial component that went into that, as well as just a timing thing. And to be honest, I really did just kind of want to stick to the vein of, man, I just really want to, focus on Supercross. I took a little bit of a break after the Supercross series because I've never done the full series before. Last year was the first time I did the whole season,
Yep.
Start to finish. And it was a lot, especially with the new schedule where we only get 1 weekend off in the middle. It was a lot. And then, after that, I was like, I just want to try to focus, further ahead, get an early start on Supercross prep, get bikes in place, try to get support in place, and just kind of be a little bit smarter with that instead of kind of, in previous years, I've probably gone through it a little haphazardly and just tried to tie things together. And I mean, any professional racer that's a privateer will tell you that they've definitely done that. And, honestly, I was kind of wanting to be a little bit of a little smarter about it and take a little bit of a different approach. And I will say, I think that I did do some outdoor riding, once I got on the Husqvarna, but, I thought that it would just be good to focus primarily on Supercross. I mean, that's where the support is. That's where the best, chance for TV coverage is. And, that's something that I will say, as I've gotten better and better, I have found myself really enjoying Supercross. It's something that I used to like it. Now I love it. Especially, dude, when you can really confidently hit big rhythms and confidently, hit whoops and stuff like that, it's a game changer. It goes from being scary to, feeling like you're the freaking man. So there was a lot to it that kind of ushered in that little bit of a change, but I'm definitely really happy, being able to focus on Supercross now. Obviously, if the series points are there and the outlook for SMX and support kind of all lines up, then that kind of changes the conversation a little bit. But obviously, if the stars aren't really aligned for it, you have to be honest with yourself about that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, all of that makes complete sense. But I feel like whatever you did there in that decision, it's showing now, because as much as you did the whole season last year, and one that might be part of it, I just feel like you're more prominent in some of these pitches, in terms of seeing you in the LCQs, you are closer to the front most of the time. So I feel like there's something that's either it's just you just doing a better pattern path, it's more stable, not like you said, not maybe trying to pull strings to make something happen for a weekend. So maybe it's all a bit more calmer in the mind. It's just working better, it seems, at least from the outside when I'm seeing where you're at on the track and stuff. So it's obviously working, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot to be said that kind of contributes to that. I mean, obviously, when you're trying to race outdoors, I mean, right now, you would already be trying to get bikes figured out for outdoors and trying to get everything kind of starting to line up, because if you wait much longer, it's going to be here and then you're not going to be prepared at all. So then you're not trying to figure out, man, like getting outdoor suspension set up and, trying to line up a bike or, anything like that. Even if you're kind of just doing it a little bit, I would say almost bare bones, where, you're taking your Supercross race bike, making it your outdoor practice bike, get a new, outdoor race bike. It's just a lot. There's a lot to that. And I've done it. I've done it plenty of times. It's not that obviously it's not doable. It's just a lot. Being able to focus on one thing is, super beneficial. And obviously, having things well thought out, well planned is good. Obviously, really solid home life, really peaceful home life obviously helps that a lot. And just a lot of really great things kind of in life, not just in racing, being in a positive direction and a positive, space really also helps with that focus, where I go to the race on the weekends and lock in, man, like just lock in and go get the job done.
Yeah, nice. You mentioned the home life side of things there. You've had a bit of a change there in terms of you now got a part-time job as well through the week. So things are obviously just clicking in general for you. Like, you've obviously found a nice rhythm there as well to fit that into your week and still train and, obviously travel to and from races. So tell us a little bit how that came to be and how that's changed the lifestyle for the season in 2026 as well.
Well, I will say, so throughout my professional racing career, I have pursued higher education. I have my master's degree. So I'm definitely
curiosity.
I have my master's in business,
Nice.
and then I have a minor in sports business. So pretty targeted. So it's that's something that I've done throughout my professional career, and I've held a few different jobs. Before this one, I was doing some project management and some acting as a permit agent for a lighting and sign company. And, that was I was doing that full time, but, thankfully I was able to do it remotely. So that was a bit different. But now, I would, technically, I think my job title is a marketing specialist, but honestly, I'm going to kind of rehash that. I'm just going to say Moto marketing master, because I think it sounds better.
You can be triple M rather than M&M. You can be triple M.
Exactly. Yeah, so I do that for Twin Air now, which has been a really awesome. It's a really awesome transition. I mean, obviously, the reason I did my master's in the first place was I wanted to have kind of a leg up on entering into the industry. Obviously, my focus has always been to work in the industry. It's an industry I love. It's an industry I know like the back of my hand. And obviously, literally any product that has to do with the sport, I can speak to it pretty clearly, and have experience with it. So, it's something that I want to be a part of. Obviously, it's, once it's in your system, it's impossible to get it out. That's just honesty. So it was a really cool opportunity that kind of just worked out. It just happened to work out. Everything kind of came together, and they actually reached out to me because they were
Nice.
they were moving. Yeah, they were moving down here to Jacksonville, where I live, and so it all just kind of worked out really nicely, and got connected, and was able to get myself a really solid spot. And yeah, it's been really great so far. Spending, now at this point, I'm spending time in the office, also trying to do, work while I'm traveling, remotely as well, which is great. They've been super awesome about, working together with me while I'm racing Supercross. So that's, super thankful for that. And yeah, just really, really awesome. It definitely offers a really unique perspective. Obviously, as a racer, already have that perspective. As somebody that's gone through, the education, you kind of have a general kind of idea of, how things work on the back end, of business in general. And especially like with the venues and the promoters and stuff like that. I learned a lot about that in my master's degree. But yeah, now I work, even more behind the scenes, as somebody that, gets to see and hear, all the intricate details of, what's going on as a big brand. Twin Air is a huge brand in motocross. And so it's really unique. Especially because it's here in the US, the US, part of Twin Air is, it's not like it's a massive, huge, corporation that's, got like 150 guys or nothing like that. I mean, everybody wears a lot of different hats. And so it's crazy kind of knowing the backside of, the guys and how they're working to make this thing happen. With and really how much we're involved, but how few guys it is. So yeah, it's definitely a really awesome opportunity, really great gig, and I work with great people, and just what a cool perspective, get to be on both sides.
Yeah, you're obviously going to learn a lot about it, but also it's probably going to help you in plenty of different aspects, not just from your career after life, but like after moto racing, but it's probably helping you open some other connections, because you're obviously, if you're marketing, you're probably talking to a whole bunch of other connections to other companies and stuff as well that you're potentially linking up here for racing and support yourself some way sort of along the line. So it's it's got to be a good opportunity. And I think there's value in, unless you're in one of those, factory teams sort of thing, I think there's value in having some sort of other job to take your mind off the day-to-day racing aspect of it, and maybe your lack of a result at times, just to keep things in a perspective of what real life is too. So look, I think it's an awesome thing that you're doing it. I think it's awesome that you studied to be on that. Like obviously I have these degrees as well in my back history here, but not many people see that or do that. They all end up in sort of lower things because, there's a bit of a connotation that moto, we're a bit dumb and stupid. We just know how to twist the throttle. But look, to have those things in the background, it just helps you in life. It gives you better perspective, and it's not just all just the racing side, because when it's over, that can be a big, difficult transition point too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that, obviously there's a very limited amount of opportunities in this industry. Obviously guys that are in it stay in it. There's plenty of guys that, I can mention that have literally been in the sport for freaking ever. Even since I was a kid, and they'll still continue to be a part of it for, who knows how long, just because that's what they know and they love it. And so I feel exceptionally lucky to, be one of the few that has the opportunity. I think it's really good. I think also, it definitely does allow you to disconnect a little bit from the racing side of things. It definitely, you get to kind of come into it with a fresh mind, where you've kind of been able to disconnect and then be able to go back into it and, maybe have a better perspective, especially like you said, if you have a, kind of a little bit of a downer of a weekend, then you can always, come back to it. And, I think that might limit how much you kind of dwell on it.
Yeah, exactly.
I do think that's good. I will say that it's definitely a challenge, working in the industry, because you are talking about dirt bikes all the time. That is slightly hard to disconnect in that way. And obviously having the balance of disconnecting, like, hey, when I'm at work and I'm doing work, I have to switch my brain off of this, and now I have to focus on, the work. But then when I leave the office and I'm driving home and then I'm going and getting on the road bike, like, that's back to being athlete. Or, when I'm, if I happen to work a half day, and for a couple hours I'm in the office, and then, I get in my van with my bike in the back, and, I go to the track, and all of a sudden that has to be an even quicker switch of, going from working switch the brain into athlete, and then you're going and riding. That is definitely a challenge. Obviously, not continuing to really stay in one particular mindset. That is definitely a challenge, and I'm sure that that's something that a lot of guys have a hard time with. I think that luckily, because I have just always, been, I've always had some type of job, or have done higher education. I think that has lent its hand very well into this part of my life.
Yeah, you're probably just used to it by now. It's just normal for you to have a couple of things that you're focusing on each week, right? Like it was either you had to study a certain text or whatever, or you've got a certain problem at work that you're trying to solve in between hitting the moto or hitting the gym or the cycle bike or whatever. So yeah, you're probably just a little bit old hat, as they say, to being able to do these things regularly. But on a similar but different note, you obviously with your business side of things there, the military appreciation weekend that just went past, I gather some of this kit that you had involved that looked really sick, by the way, was maybe a little bit of a passion project in terms of, just the marketing side of it for you. But I wanted to ask you, like for you at your level, is that a bit of a headache, a cost to add into your program? Like obviously it's awesome that we're, recognizing the military, and I'm not saying that side of things is a negative, but obviously the teams have a different ability to do these things and get, kits and stuff done specifically for one weekend. But on your sort of a budget, I would think that some of this is, at your own expense to be able to do, but you probably still want to be able to be participating in it to some degree. But you did a good job of it, from what I saw of the bike and the shots. And if you haven't seen them, check out Scott's social pages, because there's a couple of good shots on there. But yeah, Scott, tell us about that and how that impacts you and your program.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I really love being able to do these special kits, and I've been very lucky over the past few years to be able to do, different kits, whether it's for military appreciation, St. Jude,
yep.
Sometimes Daytona kits, during Redbud, obviously you have to go all out for 4th of July then. There's been a lot of really cool opportunities. Yeah, I mean, this year in particular, very luckily, I was able to kind of get info ahead of time about when military appreciation was going to be happening.
Nice.
And the guys at Shot Race Gear were like, hey, we want to do a custom gear kit for military appreciation. And yeah, that was super cool. And that came together really well. And the gear looked amazing. And yeah, the guys with the gear, or the graphic company, then we took that actual, artwork for the gear, and we used the exact same colors and everything. It matched to the T,
nice.
On the graphics. What Cherubies is a sponsor of the McGinley Privateer Support Program. They had supplied me with plastics, and so was able to do a whole thing. Everything really matched to what it was supposed to look like. It did come together really nicely. But yeah, no, I mean, there is a little bit of an extra cost. I mean, obviously the guys with Shot, that was something that they wanted to do.
Nice.
But obviously I have an allotment as far as, graphics and stuff go. So when I want to do, sometimes when I want to do these extra kind of little bits, for these weekends, it does cost me a little bit extra. So it's it's not always the case, but this was definitely a time that had to, happen. But I honestly, I'm more than happy to do it. Cause I love being a part of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously it's really important. It's an important part of what we do. Obviously I feel like that's important to do regardless, every weekend. If there's no fans, there's none of us, out there, on the track. So, I feel like, fan focus is huge. And honestly, I love interacting with fans every single weekend. But being able to kind of take it into a more kind of focus of, military appreciation. We have the veteran MX guys, literally right beside us at the McGinley Privateer Support Program setup. So, we're there interacting with veterans every single weekend, chatting with those guys, talking about their experiences. I have family and friends that have been in the military, and there's, obviously men and women every day that are sacrificing everything to be able to, have our freedoms, and that's a huge deal. So I feel like that's, more than anything, that's, regardless of the extra cost, you have to do that. Not just as an obligation, but just as a way to really truly help show appreciation.
Yeah. Do you try and get any of like I don't know if Shot does it, like I gather because they're doing these as sort of a one-off run, but do they do anything where they might sell those as a limited edition kit as such? And same for the graphics company. Like once they've obviously put that effort into it, do they put that up and let people buy, obviously not with your number on it, but they could change it, to whatever number they wanted on the number panel, but have the background of the kit available? Do they do that for sale to try and then maybe offset the cost that you have? Like I feel like that's an easy way to sort of offset what you would have to put into it whilst they're still getting something out of creating it as a not necessarily just a one-off then for them.
For Shot, that's like just specifically they just made that one and done.
Wow. Yeah,
so
okay.
I have they made 3 jerseys for that.
Yep.
And 2 custom pairs of pants. After the weekend, I have 1 jersey and 2 pairs of pants.
Yep.
So that's kind of the thing. Yeah, we have done stuff in the past where we do these custom kits for graphics and stuff like that, and then they're available for sale. I'm not sure what's going to happen with this kit for the military appreciation. I haven't really asked that question. But I will say that this weekend in Daytona, we'll be running a specific bike graphic kit that will be available to buy because
yep.
I mean, hey, I listen. I can't say it until it's shown, but
we can tease. We can tease.
we can tease it. It's already available on the site. It's the graphic kit is so good. The graphic kit's so good. I was like, hey, just make it this. So yeah, it's really exciting, and yeah, that's definitely stuff that we've done before. I'm not sure what's going to happen with this one with the military camo. That was definitely super sick. And
really
the vet
caught my eye.
Yeah, the vet guys loved it. The Veteran X guys loved it, and they were like, man, like, I would definitely be down to have that, be on my bike. So yeah, we'll see. I'd be surprised if it was something that didn't go up for sale, but we'll have to keep the people in the know, so that way they can go and check it out. But I'm sorry to say, as far as the gear goes, that was private only, and the couple that were made are that's it.
Hey, so that's still got to be pretty cool for you, but like that they literally made you a set of gear just for you, sort of thing. Like that's got to be really cool. So there is a positive
absolutely.
on that side, personally,
No, dude, honestly, it is super cool. I mean, even like, when you're starting out as an amateur and then all of a sudden you like start getting like special like stickers, like I think that my first like specific stickers were from like Scott Goggles. It was like I was like one of their Moto Elite guys.
Yep.
And so I had like, special stickers with my name on it and stuff. And I thought that I was like the coolest like ever. And, it's still to this day, to be able to have like, man, like custom gear made like, not just like the jersey, but like the pants and everything have my name on them. Like, that's just super cool. And obviously, obviously it's not uncommon to see in the professional ranks, for like factory guys and stuff like that. But dude, regardless, like, it's still so cool. It's really a perspective thing. Because if you would have told 60-year-old me that I was going to have custom military gear, dude, my head would have been exploding.
Yeah, same. I've got an 11 and a 9-year-old, and any of those two at these times when they see some of that sort of stuff, they're like, "Oh, that's so cool!" And I'm like, "Could you imagine getting that yourself?" And they're like, "No," So yeah, I can see that at the moment because I've got those two in that range where they're interested in it and they see it, but like obviously now you sort of like you got to still keep that appreciation. You still got to keep that kid view at some point so that it does still make an impact in what you realize what you're doing. So yeah, it is cool that you've got that.
Yeah, I think honestly, I feel like that is something that I carry a lot. In not just the gear side of things, but obviously in literally just what I do, where it's like, man, like I might not be getting into the main event every single weekend. And obviously that is what I'm pushing for. And I'm always going to push for that. Just being on TV alone is freaking sick.
Yeah.
Like, that's just honest. It's freaking sick. Let's just be clear. But like, to be able to battle, I mean, and there's a lot of different perspectives. Like literally battling with Colt Nichols, both in, the heat race, and then, the LCQ, fighting him for some time. I'm like, dude, this guy has won a Supercross championship.
Yep.
So many of the guys that I'm racing against, that realistically, when we're all in that kind of scenario, like, man, we're all fighting each other on the same track, and we're pretty close in all perspective. We're all pretty damn close in speed. That's a huge perspective. These are guys that have won championships that you grow up. Dude, when Anderson won his 450 championship, as a guy that was on Husky that year, I was freaking losing it. Like, I thought that was the coolest. And then obviously, I mean, of course, I would definitely, expect him to beat me in a race scenario. I would hope so. Battling with him and even passing him back in Seattle in the LCQ, I was like, dude, that's crazy. As a fan and as a kid perspective, it's like, man, like, that is truly crazy to know that I'm actually doing that now. And I think that also kind of lends its hand into, at the races, fan interaction is super important to me. I really enjoy interacting with fans, and even if it's just taking 30 seconds to really talk to them and see how their day is going, who's their favorite rider, like, talk about the track and stuff like that. Like, I love that, dude. I love that part of what I do. Because obviously when I was a kid and I was going up to Tim Ferry, I like literally couldn't say anything. I couldn't speak. And, when I went up, dude, I was just talking with Ashley, my fiance, about this. Like, back in first grade, second grade, when I had the Yamaha lunchbox with Chad Reed on the thing,
the Smooth
right?
Industries ones. Yeah.
Yes. So, when I had the metal lunchbox, taking it to school, and nobody understood. And I thought that was like the coolest thing ever, and then fast forward how many years later, like, man, like, literally as a professional, I went up to Chad and I talked to him for, just I'd say about a minute and a half about, what he had to say on TV about the tracks. And I was like, dude, you are completely valid in what you have to say. And, he obviously genuinely nice guy, take the time and talk a little bit, but it's like, dude, like, it's just so amazing, like, where things go. So yeah, talk about kid perspective. I feel like that's really important. And obviously, man, like, I know that some guys lose sight of that, but not me, man. I'm a fan of the sport. Like, I love it.
Yeah, I've got pretty much a similar story with Chad there as well. Because, like, obviously growing up in Australia, I saw Chad from a very young age. I think he's 4 years older than me. And end of last year, I got for our state area, they actually inducted him into the Hall of Fame for our state governing body. And I got asked to do the interview with him that was recorded, like what we're doing now, right? And when he
Awesome.
jumped on the call, he's got the backdrop and he's got all of the helmets just down one wall in a cabinet, like in the cabinetry, all stacked up like 4 or 5 high, as far as you can see, round behind him. And I'm like, hi, Chad. I was like, hold on, I'm talking to Chad, and he's got all the helmets that I've been staring at for years in magazines and stuff. And I had to say to him, like, look, I'm a bit nervous about this one because, you were my hero sort of thing at that point. Like, it is cool, but you got to keep that perspective. And I think if you're a true fan, as you obviously are, you will always have that perspective, no matter who it is that comes up at that point. Yeah, it'll wear off after you've done it 10 times for that one person, but each time you meet one of those new potential heroes of who you previously had, yeah, it'll still be there. So, yeah, no, it's a great thing to have and keep hold of.
Yeah, dude, what's funny is still to this day, like, dude, AP is like my dude. Like, he is such a, genuinely, I will say, like, if you had not been told this before, what you see on TV and him being a nice guy, like being a good dude, translates in person. Like, he is 100% exactly like that. And, even a couple of years ago, a guy that was mechanicking for me had a connection with him. It's a long story, but he was able to get me his jersey for my birthday, which happened to be at Detroit Supercross a couple of years ago.
Yep.
And he invited me into the KTM rig and gave me a jersey. And dude, I thought I was gonna fall over.
Yeah.
that's crazy, dude.
Oh,
Like,
that's awesome. But
you know,
AP's awesome dude
amazing.
too. Like I've had similar things with him. There's a photo that's just out of screen up there in the corner that I got of him at Southwick, and I went up and gave him a copy of it at Redbud, and he signed one for me to keep. And he's just standing there. Literally, he's getting changed after a session, and he's literally got to the point where he's in his undies, and we're just chatting, and his wife's there, and I'm like, I'm so nervous. Like, Kit, do you want this photo? And like, can you sign one for me? And but yeah, he's a cool dude. But those people make our sport, and those little opportunities that you get with them for a couple of minutes to be invited into the truck, like yourself as a racer, like you should be comfortable in that, but you're still like giddy sort of thing. Yeah. Like our sport is cool in that sense. So yeah. Well, man, I think we've told enough little fun stories there at the end for this one, but Daytona this weekend, mate. How do we like it? Are we going to tick off this main event at this weekend, or is it the next weekend? It's got to be soon, right?
No, dude, I'm telling you, home race, Daytona, like, dude, there's one main event that I want to make more than any.
Yeah.
It is this one. It is Daytona, man. Like, I'm ready to full send for this one. Obviously, listen, for so many reasons. Obviously, I've been so close so many times. I've gone down. I've also, just made some dumb mistakes, and I've just been just right there, and just not enough to seal the deal, and I'm kind of tired of it. So I'm definitely ready to go and close the deal. And honestly, what better place to do it than at Daytona? And that would be my first ever Daytona main. So that would be, dude, I would be sky high. Freaking, that would be unbelievably cool. So I'm definitely pushing for it. We'll see with the weather. It's looking a little dicey, but dude, it's Florida. So realistically, happen, right? Literally raining alligators in the front yard, sunshine in the backyard. Genuinely, who knows? So just have to take it as it comes, and obviously just stay positive and stay focused on what the goal is. And I think that's exactly, what I've been doing, and that's what I'm going to continue to do. And obviously it's been very close, and I've had a lot of success. Even though I haven't made the main event, I would still say I've came away successful in those ways, better than I have in previous years. And so, we're just going to keep on climbing the ladder and keep on, punching through the ceilings and try to get through to that main event. I definitely feel extremely confident. I feel extremely confident on some home soil too.
Yeah, that hopefully sleeping in your own bed the night before and stuff too might help as well, because you're probably the closest you're ever going to be to an event, right?
There is nothing better, dude. There is absolutely nothing better than that.
Well, look, mate, good luck this weekend. Appreciate your time here on the AlwaysMoto show. Hopefully that main event can be this weekend, because then I'll be probably filling your texts up with the fist pumps and stuff. But whenever it is, mate, I'm sure it'll be well earned. And yeah, good luck for the rest of the season.
I appreciate it very much. Yeah, man. Thank you. Always for having me. Definitely a privilege and an honor.
No, all good. Anytime, mate. We'll talk to you soon.
All righty.